all reasoning concerning matters of fact seem to be founded on the relation of cause and effect. David Hume. Welcome to another Ced Talks.
Yeah. Welcome to Ced Talks, where we separate fact from fiction. Mess it up a minute every time. This that Ced Talk, yeah, we set it straight. Cut through the noise, elevate the debate. No pseudo talk, no foggy claims. Just evidence-based when we build these frames. Ced Talks, yeah, clarity first. If it ain't got method, it probably won't work. From ancient knowledge to modern science, we draw that line, that clear define. They say the ancients had science. Hold up. Pause. Knowledge ain't the same as methodological laws. Observation, yeah, but control tests rare. No predictive models, you gotta be fair. We respect the past, but we keep it exact. Precision matters when you deal with facts. Astronomy grew, astrology split. One stayed empirical, one lean myth. The shift came through naturalistic method. Just standing of eyes, that's how we embed it. Not culture bound, not tied to a place. It's a universal tool for the human race. This got Ced Talks, yeah, you said it straight. Cut through the noise, elevate the debate. No pseudo talk, no foggy claims. Just evidence based when we build these frames. Ced Talks, yeah, clarity first. If it ain't got method, it probably won't work. From ancient knowledge to modern science, we draw that line, that clear defiance. They blur definitions, start moving the goalposts. Turn fried to a claim that don't hold close. Science ain't on, this a process refined. Independent of culture, space and time. You can't redefine it to fit identity. That's how you lose all epistemic integrity. We test every claim, we don't just believe. If it can't be verified, we don't receive. From early observers to labs today, it's rigor and doubt that paved the way. Not name dropping scholars to win and debate, but data and method that validate. So what's your ideology? That's cool to ask, but truth ain't decided by the loudest class. We question it all, no sacred ground. If it don't hold up, we break it down. This that Ced Talk, yeah, we live in direct. No fear in the facts, just intellectual respect. No more, no mirror, no fantasy, just truth, logic, and consistency.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another Ced Talks. Don't forget to help the algorithm thumb up the video, share it on your social media, let everybody know that we're back for another Ced Talk, the new series going deeper into the understanding the philosophical parameters which define our modern understanding. Again, I say scientific literacy is the vaccine against the charlatan, scammers, hoodwinkers, flim-flammers in our community. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody had a good weekend. Y'all can hear me okay? Put a one in the chat. All right. Let's do a quick recap before we get... You know what? Let's wait some folks get in the building. We can have a little fun before we get started. It's always a good moment to play this.
What's your ideology? Seems to be the question round here lately. Every discussion rooted in blackology, fueled by the lack of integrity. Case in point, the so-called tragedy, misleading the people, high-level foolery. Smash, come of us, king's monologue. It must be a conspiracy. Nostalgia got them stuck in the past. Always reliving history. Ask Dr. Ben and Clark. Say their names, here's our spark. All one big fantasy. Smoke and mirrors on the...
Let's see, Risha. The epistemic rupture, the epistemic regime that we are currently under. Shout out to Juju. It is simply science. Science is a particular way of engaging with the natural world, which is methodological naturalism, puts constraints on how that is exercised. It is fundamental to understand what the epistemic rupture means. Break in the old way. Throughout the last two series, first we established what science is. We put everyone and every epoch in its proper perspective, never denying ancient civilizations their proper place in our history and the development of scientific thinking, the steps along the way, which were the foundation for us to be able to build upon. I even went as far as saying, thanks to the work of those people at Nataplaya, the Mesopotamians, and the early Egyptians, because without their efforts, the lazy Greeks would have never gone to the trouble of mapping the heavenly skies. They were way too lazy. We understood that. Throughout this series, we've delved into the minds of these individuals. As we did Sunday, we started to take a closer look at those individuals that were on the bridge. Some of them at the early stage of that rupture, Bacon, who said, sorry, we can no longer rely on scholasticism. This thing about reading the ancient doesn't work anymore. We actually need to go and get our hands dirty. We need to get on these ships. These sailors know more than we do. We see the dichotomy that is taking place. The rupture is real. The tension is there. You can see it between the likes of Descartes and Hume. Tension. Descartes, part of the establishment, creates a philosophical framework within his can still reason his God in there. Creates the atmosphere, reestablishing the authority, making them feel comfortable for just a little bit longer. Hume comes and says, nonsense. No empiricism, no evidence, no reality, no truth. That epistemic rupture, that's those 200 years of science where we develop this thing, this modern concept called science. Shout out to Dr. Hendricks, Dr. Aiden, putting things in a proper perspective. The conversation we are having is not only contemporary, this is the current format of education at the highest level. They are moving away from these outdated terminologies that are creating the confusion that we're experiencing in the conscious community. That word, as Joel says, carries weight, science. It is the epistemic regime that we function under. When we declare new information, we also refer back to the science. It's been proven by science. It's been established by science. The authority that science has in our modern reality, we tend to transfer that. We transfer that same concept to the past. We have to understand epistemic regimes. This is paramount. That epistemic regime, that change, what did it bring with it? It brought constraints. It took away the authority from the man to determine. It placed it on nature. It forced humility onto man's assumption of the ability to actually understand and know everything. It took away the by fiat. And that's what we're going to look at today. What is empiricism? We talked about Hume and his role in the scientific method. We are going to take a closer look at what empiricism means and represents today. Got Kent in the building, Black Sun. Let me shout out everyone in the building. We got Mel, the archivist. We got Anthony, the space age African. Cruz, dedicated pseudo killer army. Appreciate all the hard work you're doing. We got Kikto Kent, the executive producer of this show. This is the brainchild of Kent Kikdo Logan and the God Killer. They, they wound me up, put a battery in my back, and said, "Go get him." Said, I appreciate you, Ken, for this space, this opportunity, and creating this environment so that we can do what we do. I really, really, truly appreciate you. Shout out to Ms. Valicia, always in the working hard for the pseudo killers and the family in the chat. We appreciate you, pseudo killer army. Love you much, sister. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all the support. Y'all could be anywhere you want to be at this time and space, but y'all are here with us today. This is not the regular course of dialogue conversation within the community, and it's important that we set these parameters and we establish these foundations to have these conversations in a much more coherent and productive manner. Again, just to recap, epistemic rupture, though that 200 plus year period, it actually ended much later. It actually ended with approximately Karl Popper, and we have individuals like Thomas Kuhn that make significant contributions to methodological naturalism, the constraints, the philosophical framework. I think people are starting to understand much more that when we're talking about science, it is primarily the way of thinking. A way of thinking is going to produce the actions that you execute. Those actions that you execute based on the framework that you're operating within is going to produce the results you see today. Look at every epistemic regime, and within its epistemic regime, what were the desired achievements? What were they attempting to achieve? What did they want to understand? And how successful they were at doing exactly that. When we take this mature look at the past without the anachronism and the scientism and the presentism that we are seeing now, we are able to have a much more coherent and much more clear understanding of the subject matter. All right. So before I get into the bill, let's just go through our little overview for the day. So, where does knowledge come from? That's a major question at hand here today. Is it written into the fabric of reality of self, or does it arise from experience, through the senses, through observation, through interactions with the world? Welcome back to another Ced Talks, where we break down the philosophical foundations behind science, reason, and reality itself. Today, we dive into one of the most influential epistemological frameworks in human history, empiricism. Now, the basic idea might sound simple. Knowledge comes from experience, but as we'll see, that simplicity hides a set of deeply unsettling questions about certainty, causation, and even reality itself. We begin with John Locke, who rejects the idea of innate knowledge and argues that the mind begins with a tabula rasa, a blank slate, written upon by experience. For Locke, sensation and reflection form the foundation of all human understanding. John Locke lays the groundwork for empiricism by rejecting innate ideas and arguing that the mind begins as a tabula rasa, a blank slate, shaped entirely by experience. For Locke, all knowledge comes from two sources: sensation, our interaction with the external world, and reflection, our internal awareness of thinking. But where Locke builds a confidence in experience as a foundation for knowledge, Hume would later push that same idea to a far more skeptical, unsettling conclusion. What if? What if? So David Hume comes along, and this is where things get interesting. Hume takes empiricism to its logical extreme, and in doing so, he shakes the very foundation of knowledge itself. How? He asks. Do we ever actually perceive causation? Do we? Or are we just seeing patterns, habits of thought formed by repeated experience? When we say the sun will rise tomorrow, are we stating a fact about the world? Think about that just for a second. Think about it. We all have the same level of surety that the sun will rise tomorrow. But why? Why? Because it has always been so. What is that? That is a hasty generalization. That is a hasty generalization. Doesn't matter how much times it actually happened. We have no reason, no factual reason to accept that as a fact. We simply don't. We accept it based on hasty generalization because it has always been so. We are operating on the white swan philosophy. Realize that that is what Hume wants us to be conscious of. We don't have a causal reason. There is no causal reason for us to assume so. It is based on habit. That habit is built on our experience. But does that give us the confidence we assume that we should have? That is humility. That is why the scientific method as a part of your existence slows you down, makes you do the type of work we do as pseudo killers. Examine everything, question ourselves. Did I say that right? Is it correct? That's why we put our positions straightforward to the experts. This is what we stand on publicly for scrutiny, for integrity of a proper methodology. Why? Because we are not talking about becoming scientists. That's a process you do through your education. What we are talking about is scientific literacy. Go back 4 years in the Pseudo Killers archive. What is scientific literacy? It is the ability to make decisions, good, proper decisions for your best interest, the best interest of your family, the community, and the larger world and the wider world at large. That's the objective. So that humility, when you question, how am I sure the sun will rise tomorrow? Then you realize what Hume is saying. I have no causal reason to. It is a true justified belief based on the fact that it always has. Does that mean I'm sure it will? No. Or are they just expressing expectations based on the past observation? So that's what Hume is talking about. Our position is based on past observation. Hume, what he does, he forces us to confront a radical possibility. That much of what we call knowledge may be not rationally justified at all, but psychologically conditioned based on our experience. So today, we're not just exploring imperialism, we're confronting its consequences. All right. So with that, let's get into the conversation. Let me shout out my brother Preem is in the building. Juju, good juju, bad juju. See Vincent Muller here. Hope you're here to learn something. King Sosa's in the building somewhere. I thought I saw King Sosa in the building somewhere. There you go. King Sosa in the building. There you go. King Sosa's in the building. Appreciate everybody coming out. All right. So let's go to the presentation. Let's work our way through that. And then let's have the conversation as necessary. Let me just move this here. Boom. And we go to share our screen. Entire screen. Empiricism. Why evidence is the final arbiter. Why evidence is the final arbiter. The judge, the jury. Let's go. Empiricism is the idea that knowledge comes primarily from sensory experience. That is our number one way of engaging with the world. So the whole idea that we didn't have knowledge, at which point in time in history? So you see, when you switch the semantic game and you conflate and you do the equivocation fallacy by interjecting here, let's do it. Empiricism is the idea that science comes comes primarily from sensory experience. That is what you guys are doing. Here you're interjecting science. So you're saying science comes primarily from sensory experience, from observation, from measurements and evidence. You see how you get lost now? You see, when I keep saying, do not focus on these instruments, they are at their most rudimentary form. Measurement doesn't require having a ruler, and you can walk a certain amount of distance and say, okay, this is from here to there. That's a measurement. Looking up at the sky and determining the point, that's a measurement. Observation, we are looking. The evidence is the sun moving. Is that science? No, right? It's knowledge. Knowledge in general. Stop doing the equivocation fallacy, flattening these two words out. That's disingenuous in the conversation. It does not come from intuition, not from revelation, and not from pure reason alone. Now, when we look at early forms of quote unquote knowledge, what did they add to that observation? They add their intuition. Based on their intuition, what did they determine? Revelations. And even in the Greek philosophers' days, what was the primary engine? Pure reason. What did Descartes try to do? And Kant. Reduce the conversation to reason again. You see the dichotomy which is taking place within the epistemic rupture. Stop doing the equivocation fallacy. Evidence. We are talking about evidence, empiricism, hard evidence. Stop doing the equivocation fallacy. When we get into the realm of empiricism, you require evidence. And there's a systematic way in which we process this evidence. What is empiricism? At its core, empiricism is epistemological position, a theory about how we know things. So now we're getting over into the most specific application of this philosophical framework, which is moving away from intuition, revelation, and pure reason. A different epistemic framework. We're moving from a natural philosophical framework to a methodological naturalism framework, where epistemology and empiricism become paramount. It was not the case prior to that. There was no evidence for this divine arc that they were talking about. They made that up, the Greeks. There was no evidence of a new, not, there was no evidence of none of that. None of it. their epistemology did not require empiricism. They did not require evidence. It required the great minds of the likes of Thales and Aristotle and Plato and Socrates. Scholasticism, top-down approach, authoritarian, fiat, I said it. Which today, it is the scientists who are the I said it. There's the same authoritative framework. However, that authoritative framework is primarily guided and geared to what nature says, that peer review system strips the authority away from any one individual, but it creates a system. And now all of us can participate, though. It requires education, and you get in the system. Now, the old days, you had to be a part of the elite to be able to afford the ability to go and read, to learn to read. Your parents had to be of affluent positions to be able to facilitate you frolicking in daily school. So in this system, it was status that determined authority and not your accurate description of cause and effect by nature, not the reproducibility of your work. Different epistemic regimes require different they have different foundations for what and how your authority is established. In the olden days, it was by class. In this day, it is about the ability to apply methodological naturalism in a high degree. The PhDs, the masters. I'm not forgetting our guys. We do good work. We do good work, okay? We advance stuff too, okay? On a technical level, maybe. No, we're just giving us a shout. Us applied science guys. We are not scientists. Don't get it twisted. However, based on the empirical regime that we are under, the epistemic regime that we are under, which is science, that methodology of a particular framework of how you investigate and how you apply practices in this environment are structured and they follow a general guideline. So even when you're doing industry, you apply quality control based on methodological naturalism. When you're developing your prototypes, you apply methodological naturalism to develop your prototype. There's a scientific process of repeated experimentation, gaining new knowledge, fixing, tweaking. So you see that system comes back on applied science level, and that's why the conversation gets confusing. That's why I'm saying stay right here, stay focused on these frameworks. So at its core, empiricism is an epistemological position, a theory about how we know things. It makes a simple but powerful claim. All meaningful knowledge about the world must be grounded in experience. And what is experience? Observable, testable. There must be a there. There can be no metaphysical assertions. Why? Because there is no empiricism there. There cannot be an arbitrary assertion. Why? Because there is no empiricism there. There is no tangible, quantifiable, qualifiable evidence. For it to be empiricism, there must be a there. So that includes observations, what we actually can see, observe. And when we say see, we put it with observations. We are not being limited by the five senses. So when I say, see, I don't need your eyes. Shout out to Space Age Anthony. We don't need your eyes. We got instruments. Help us experience far beyond the limitations of our five senses. We're getting ready to build an our Higgs collider so we can dissect what's going on there. We want to know the dimensions of these Higgs particles, exactly what's going on with them. So we know we're building a bigger collider because we want observations. We want to see. How do we see, though? We see through experimentations. We confirm our observations with experimentation. Or we use observations, we use experimentations to fuel observations. Then those observations gonna fuel experimentations. We can stay right here bouncing back and forth, boop, 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 right here. We are already under the framework of empiricism. So you see, you talk about these things and it's other epistemic regime and it's not the same thing. Measurements, what we can quantify. The two types of measurements when we're talking about empiricism, qualitative and quantitative. Is it there? And how much exactly is there? Is it there? Yes, no. How much of it is there? Are there different varieties of the there? Is that there in different places? This is all measurements. See how they come back? Under a different epistemic regime. Now I'm not doing an observation or an experiment to confirm my belief. I ain't tying two rocks together to prove that the heavier one falls faster. Shout out to Aristotle. If a claim cannot even in principle be tested or observed, empiricism asks a hard question. This is why y'all don't like what justifies believing it. This is a firm philosophical position that you can maintain. Just empiricism alone, you're halfway through the battle. Why should I believe you? Based on what? How can I substantiate that? Oh, because your uncle Ramon said that his nephew Tony has a friend, Robert, who saw Jackie do that? You telephone gaming me, man. You want me? How? Anecdotal on steroids. You crazy. Historical development. All right. Now, of course, we're talking about the epistemic rupture. So it didn't happen in a vacuum. Again, this is paramount point here. Empiricism didn't emerge in a vacuum. It was a reaction. It was a reaction. It was a reaction against the early traditions that prioritize pure reason or authority. Pure reason and authority. These are hallmarks of what era? Natural philosophy, top down, authoritative. Thales said, Aristotle said, Plato said, Socrates said. But they said, and it's he said though, but it's written like, look, read it right there. Scholasticism. This is prior to Bacon saying, yo, You know the sailor just come back. He laughed at me. He threw the map in my face. He called me pompous and ignorant. He said I was a fool sitting in my glass tower, ignorant of reality. I did my best to observe those words, for the stench that was coming off of this sailor was unbearable. A man of my esteem and renown, subject to such humiliation by the likes of a scoundrel at best. Humiliation. You can understand here. Burn the, I do not bring one of those goddamn books in front of me again. Yet, you got the cat coming behind him saying, whoa, 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 slow down, slow down, slow down. So slow down. If I can imagine the dimensions of a triangle in my head and they be equal to whatever we can produce in reality, then uh, there's not necessarily a reason to, well, go amongst the filth. And no, I can reason from my ivory tower, bro. Get out of here. Stop the nonsense. See, the car didn't go down to the dock. Bacon went down with the dock. The car stayed up in the tower. Because at that point in time, word done was spreading. He was trying to figure out a way when the queen called him, he could save his neck. When she finally called him, I told this story before. When she finally called him, he was, well, we can be wrong, but God has given us the ability to reason reality. He gave her the whole triangle, boom, bam, 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 bam. He slipped God in on the back end of that. Everybody was happy for a while. This is the environment where empiricism comes in. How you could know anything? You're getting a pushback. And the pushback coming from a particular environment. Francis Bacon formalized systematic observation and experimentation. Locke argued that the mind begins as a tabula rasa, a blank slate, shaped by experience. Y'all with me, right? Locke, Englishman, reformist, Protestant movement. England already broke away from the Catholic system. So you got these dudes over on this side of the pond. They're just macking it up like, no, you ain't born with knowing a damn thing. I'm bank slate. This is where the nurture versus nature argument begins. David Hume, y'all know Hume is my boy. I don't care what nobody says. This is the dude. Hume is the dude. Love it or hate it. This is the man right here. This chubby little, not cynical, but practical, lovable. He just the ultimate cool dude. David Hume took it further, questioning causation, certainty, and even the self. Hume in particular force a radical realization. Yeah, we don't see causation, bro. We see patterns, and we infer relations. This is the foundation of science today. You see why he is the dude. This here, boom. This is the bedrock, boom. This is the principle, the the philosophical foundation, empiricism. We ain't moving nowhere from this place. You made that up. Don't believe you. Show me the evidence. Man, you just yapping. I could hear you back in the day. You know the baby bullshit, bullshit. How so? Where'd you get that from? Show me. And he was killing them with it. I mean, this man Dagger was so sharp. His books were banned by the Catholic Church. Now, it is important again that we dig into the minds and the environment that is happening. Why we talk about a rupture. Can you see what's going on here? The fabric of society, the dominance of the authoritarian system is collapsing all over the 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 the, the, the European or these countries that were under the auspices of the church. When Rome fell, at the Dark Ages, the church becomes a dominant force. Now, here we're dealing with the time of the Enlightenment. In the Enlightenment itself, you got different epochs. You got different time frames in the humanists didn't just start. The French materialists didn't just pop up. These are not within 6 weeks of each other sitting in a conference room somewhere. These are 50, 60, 100 years overlapping. Galileo born when the other died or something. Like we went through that Sunday. Sorry, I can't bring up the specifics. Oh no, we didn't go through that yet. Gonna go through that this Sunday. That's why. Didn't get it to you yet. But it's important that we put ourselves, when we're having this conversation, we slow it down, put ourselves there, get rid of the scientism, get rid of the presentism, realize that this man here, himself, with this deep philosophical insight, his reference to where human beings came from is Adam and Eve. Anti-establishment, mind you. But what is the epistemic regime that he is under? What is the collective body of knowledge that exists that he is working from and with? Do you think David Hume, you ask David Hume about where human beings come from, he is not going to head you straight to Adam and Eve? He has no other reference point. Oh, he would have to say he don't know. But that would be outside of his scope of understanding because it is understood. This is simply understood. His epistemic regime, the one he is coming out of the new one that he's producing from the where he is within the natural philosopher state. This is why the rupture. He has one frame of reference that is global, in quotation marks. Darwin is going to cause a paradigm shift within the epistemic rupture, solidifying another dagger against the authority, making yet another claim posited by the authority null and void. You see how it's fragmenting, breaking apart? It's not there's no linearity there. There's no sequentialness in that epistemic rupture itself. A lot of these things are serendipitous by its nature. We talked about that. Empiricism in science, in modern science, it is the core, institutionalized empiricism. This is at its core. Modern science is at its core institutionalized empiricism. Every scientific claim must ultimately answer same 3 points: data, observations, reproducibility. Where's the data? What are your observations? What is your methodology? Now I'm going to my lab and see if I can falsify you. And by my ability to not falsify you, I would have successfully reproduced your work. Your work becomes reproducible when my attempt to falsify it ultimately produces the same results. Now, that is a counterintuitive statement right there in and of itself. Slow down. You mean to say my colleague ain't really trying to make sure that they doing the editing like we do for the serial killers with my bad spelling? No. That's my colleagues reviewing my work, crossing the I's, dotting the T's. Science, your colleagues take your work and by attempting to falsify it, prove it wrong, they're looking for every scrutinizing every claim, every hole, testing every millimeter, making sure every dot, all in an attempt to prove you wrong. And when they can't prove you wrong, the outcome would be they have successfully reproduced your work. That's a counterintuitive understanding. But it is what science is. So no, it ain't like in the Arab world, you would send it over to your buddy and he would correct your homework for you or do your little editing and ask you, "Are you sure you write this good?" No. In science, your colleague is trying to tear your stuff down. That's your colleague. When you peer review, you critique. I don't trust these observations. Now, I'm not sure how you acquire the data for this. We're not seeing sufficient reference point. Your parameters are too short or too wide. Your description is not clear enough. You're having too much random data points. They're tearing your stuff apart. And when they effectively cannot do that, the ultimate result is having reproduced your work successfully. This is why science relies on controlled experiments, the peer review process, which I just explained quite elegantly. Independent verification and the peer review process go hand in hand. The controlled experiments, why control? So that I can now scrutinize your method. Did you account for all the variables? Are your variables wide or narrow enough? Have you controlled for environmental factors? Do you want to include environmental variables in this experiment or should they be excluded in this particular experiment? What's your methodology? Your application of control experimentation. So there's no blueprint for controlled experiments. You would design an experiment based on the question you have. That is why that peer review process is necessary. Did you interject a bias? Independent verification and peer review. These two are interchangeable, work hand in hand. You want your peer review done blind. You want your verification done by communities outside the scope of your network, so that verification process happens both blind and independent. Peer review is the first hurdle. Do you meet the standards? Does it fit within the criteria that is methodological naturalism? These are these constraints. It is not that it is strict or gatekeeping or exclusive. No, these constraints are paramount. Without these constraints, if you try to slip in your little nature in there, send that off to Japan, and they think nature is some kind of fish you're talking about, and they take the natural fish and they try to use it in the experiment, and they what? What's the nature? What are you talking about? What's that doing there? Peer review gonna catch that. Send it right back to you. Yo, you are not going to waste anyone's time. You have not maintained the constraints. You have presuppositions. You have unverified claims. You have unsupported arbitrary assertions in here. What is the anecdotal nonsense you call in evidence? Ain't sending this nobody to do verification. They can run experiments on this nonsense, waste our time. We trying to build a colony on the moon. Make sure that stuff is all in order. Get out of here. It's also why science is self-correcting. Built in. If new evidence contradicts old conclusions, conclusions are changed. Why? Because as we saw in the first series, that ever moving, forward moving vortex of observation, experimentation, hypotheses, conclusion testing, and that vicious circle that never ending knowledge. The quest for knowledge is never ending. Science operates where we don't know. Once we are here on Pseudo Killer's platform, communicating quote unquote science, we are now communicating science in its colloquial form. The information, the body of knowledge that we collectively have. The methodology. Science is practiced on the frontier of our knowledge. Abiogenesis. That is where science is now operating. In the space that we don't know. There's no theory for that yet. The unification theory between the subatomic world and the atomic world. That's where science is operating. What are black holes? That's where science is operating. What is this black dark energy and dark matter? Those are the questions that keep scientists busy. That's why you have theoretical scientists developing proto-science. We are working on the technology to eventually make these into new disciplines within science. On the biological sphere, we have the development of neuroscience. We're integrating evolutionary psychology and evolutionary psychiatry. All these disciplines, that constant development within science is because of this self-correcting tool, this self-correcting mechanism. Shout out to Rene Descartes for trying to save his neck, which allows science to be wrong. We can be wrong. And when we say wrong, it means, listen, we were working with the best that we had. It was producing reliable results. It was giving us predictive modeling. Right? It allowed us to get to the next step that we have more understanding. So, hey, science don't talk about wrong. We talk about building upon. Some cases, things are dead wrong. And that was the case when we started to introduce falsification. Shout out to Karl Popper. Again, just a mere observation from someone thinking. He looked at Einstein. He looked at Freud. He looked back at Einstein. He said that dude right there. That's science. Yeah. He could be wrong. And if you're wrong, you're going back to the drawing board. That's falsifiable right there. His experiment will either establish his hypotheses or it's going to be wrong. Freud over here Like my mother would say, you got a plaster for every sore. Eh? That means you got an excuse for every situation. You are unfalsifiable, bro. How I know? There's no way for me to know what you saying is actually valid. Based on the outcome, you just say whatever. That ain't science. That's why nowadays, what did Richard Carrier say when he was on the program? Anything really prior to 1916, pretty much dumb. Now we understand there's certain theories. So again, but a lot of pseudoscience, unfalsifiable stuff. So within science, once methodological naturalism was developed, that didn't mean we were there one time. Who remember the Michael Jackson video? Say what you want, but don't leave me. He and Paul McCartney. Remember that video? What they were doing? What era was that? And what they were doing? What era was that? And what they were doing? Snake oil salesman, hustling, selling magic tonic and all kind of nonsense. I remember back in the day, you could have go to the drugstore and get a shot of cocaine, put in your drink though. Like, y'all do like science is this perfect thing. We teach scientific literacy so that you can actually do this, put things in its proper perspective. Like, calm down, folks. Calm down. Y'all doing this scientism thing. Science is a self-correcting tool. It gives us the best evidence and the best understanding of the natural world today. Within that self-correcting mechanism is what saved it. Because it was a hell of a long time. Bloodletting. Doctors were bloodletting you. Or hit you with a cup. Stuck you. Okay, now. Medicine. Perspective, folks. Come on. Work with me here. So what does empiricism reject? Empiricism doesn't just tell us what counts as knowledge, but it tells us what doesn't. That's an important point right there. Science works on constraints. Constraints are guardrails. You are operating within something. That tells me what is excluded. It rejects claims that solely rely on divine revelation for number one. So you can understand why someone like me rejects anything that Paul would say from a biblical perspective, right? Just by applying empiricism. We ain't gonna go all deep in all the philosophy and that. What does empiricism hold? Divine revelation, that's rejected off the bat. Red card, you even didn't get in a yellow card. You get ejected from the game. You're out. That's why Sunchild and them. Shout out to Sunchild. Pure intuition without evidence. The days of the barbershop boys, rhetoric and logic, where they can philosophize while cutting hair, drinking beers, and just shooting the shoot, is not applicable within the arena of science, of les sciences. Pure intuition without evidence. You are making it up. Nothing to support your claim. Roy Chess, how you won't come up here without evidence? Assuming that group of people that are engaging in methodological naturalism who would accept your intuition without a body of evidence to support your claim. And furthermore, when we have evidence to the contrary, what would allow you to assume that for a moment any such proposition would be allowed to enter the lexicon of the conversation, my good friend? You are in that moment a vampire, and you cannot enter the building without request and without being invited and without the prerequisite paperwork. You are not invited to the party then. You will have to stay behind that Kantian wall of the noumena and twiddle your thumbs. Because in a phenomena, pure intuition without evidence is rejected squarely, structurally. There is no room for that proposition to be entertained. Y'all need to understand this. We're not being rude, rough, or rejected. Like, no, it's no. Supernatural explanation that cannot be tested. Now, I want y'all to see that there's a, how you say, overboard. This is a how you say, green grass statement. Supernatural explanations, they cannot be tested, fundamentally not. And from the moment a claim can be tested, it is no longer supernatural. I'm reading it now and recognizing my error, okay? So y'all do not chastise me. Supernatural explanations that cannot be tested. A supernatural explanation is by definition something that cannot be tested. For the moment I can test it, it is part of the natural world and therefore no longer supernatural. You cannot have it both ways. Sunchild? Well, it goes to reason. Well, perhaps, well, maybe. No, Sunchild. Shout out to Sunchild. This is where empiricism becomes foundational to pseudo-killers, community skeptics, scientific literate posse, PK Army, and all y'all in the building. This is what we stand on. Let's go. There you have it. I'm just chipping out. Methodological naturalism. This is where empiricism becomes foundational to methodological naturalism. And we know what methodological naturalism is. Science. See that? Methodological naturalism, science, aka, which is methodological naturalism slash, comma, science, doesn't deny the supernatural out. I must say this again. Methodological naturalism, science, doesn't deny the supernatural outright. Is there a contradiction here? Because this is an area where the conversation gets conflated, it's construed as well. Does my personal belief system have anything to do with methodological naturalism? No. Am I allowed to have my belief systems? Yes. Are we all a little pseudo? Yes. I believe I can fly. And I really believe I can fly. Like, y'all don't want to believe me, right? I really believe that I can fly. It's one of the reasons why I got better after my stroke. I'm gonna get spooked out on y'all. It's because I believe I can fly. Oh, methodological naturalism, science, methodological naturalism, science doesn't deny the supernatural outright. It simply says if you can't test it, you can't use it. That's an explanation. Uh, No arbitrary assertions of no nature. Not my ancestors, not the Greek gods, not the Egyptian gods, not not my own reinterpretation of some ancient Sumerian, not the Anunnaki, not Yakub, none of them. If it can't be tested, you can't use it as an explanation. Done. That's it. What are you talking about? It doesn't compute. It doesn't compute. It doesn't register. There's no place for you to put that into the equation. When we're in science, I'm looking at you as, huh? Doesn't compute. That doesn't register within the realm of science. Simply doesn't. See some of these misconceptions. Empiricism means absolute certainty. No, it doesn't. This is always a pushback from those that like to leave space or sit on the wall between the nomina and the noumena and assert that because we only want to play in the phenomena, they assert that that means absolute certainty because we don't allow you to smuggle your noumena over the Kantian wall. We built a wall. There's a wall. There's a wall protecting the borders. And we are guarding this wall with everything that we have in us. We're not letting migrants come over this wall. We are segregationists of the highest degree over here. We keep the phenomena separate from the noumena. We are going to employ that Kantian wall until the sheeps come marching home. You'll never get over it. The snipers are there. The high altitude bombers. The missiles are locked. The moment you try and trespass, total destruction. Lex, stop it. What it actually implies is the opposite. Empirical knowledge is always, here we go, provisional. Mhm. Do you think you really know? If you can explain me the causation, then maybe yes. But until then, you are doing white swan. So be considerate of the fact that the sun may not come out tomorrow. So don't bet your bottom dollar. Bet maybe your top dollar, but not your bottom dollar, because just in case you need to run, make sure you got that bottom dollar saved. Open to revision. New evidence, new observations, new hypothesis, new conclusion. Does it build upon the previous set of data? Does it overturn it, reinforce it, expand it? But it's always open to revision. It needs to be. If I keep my conclusions tentative, if I understand that not all swans may be white. Only all the swans I've seen so far. That means when I find a black swan, there is no devastation. I might be on the lookout for the possibility of finding a black swan. Yeah, but y'all speak as if you have certainty. Probability and likelihood. 99.999999999999999999999% probability it will or it won't. You don't have certainty, but you have a high degree of most likely. So yeah, I'm gonna set my alarm because it's sun gonna come out tomorrow at 6 o'clock. It's not contrary. It's not contradictory. Understanding how reality actually works doesn't mean I necessarily operate any differently within it. If the door bangs right now, something is out to get me will be my initial response. I will jump and I might go, ah! Catch myself subsequently, maybe laugh. But that initial jump, that's programmed. It depends on new evidence. We get new evidence, we change our mind. There's no dogma there. Open to being wrong. Open to it. Yesterday. Hey, that's interesting. Where's the evidence? Let's see. Maybe you're onto something. This is what the Stanford says, but maybe you have better evidence, corroborating evidence, overriding evidence. Where's the evidence? We need evidence. I need evidence. But if there's no evidence, why are we talking about? Because you can tell me your position, it's anecdotal, it's arbitrary. I don't know. Where's the anchor? Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence, Roy? Where's the evidence? Empiricism requires evidence. Science proves things. Mathematic modeling gives us the logistic evidence that we need that says we have the proof, mathematical proof. Science operates on evidence, and that evidence, remember, we don't see cause, we see effect. So we describe models of effect. Strictly speaking, it doesn't. Science builds models supported by evidence, not absolute, not final truth. Y'all, this truth thing, we deal with facts. The facts is what comports the facts is the story that comports the reality. That's a fact. But it is. Truth was that. That's a whole philosophical discussion. We could develop a whole series about that alone in and of itself. Those are all different branches of philosophy. Quite interesting, but that's a lot of talk, just to talk. That's where individuals like the philosophers like Roy sit and make up words and do interesting nomenclature and dance the dance and do all the fandangos and create all these we can uh shout out to D Jump, do all these models, best of both worlds, best possible world in all of these philosophical rationality, reasoning, and gameplay. But in the scientific realm, final truth now. Ooh, final truth means that don't search no more. Boring. I don't believe nothing. So I ain't looking for no truth. One answer leads to another question. Trying to figure out that question, I might put up in an answer that I wasn't looking for, which opens a whole nother bag of worms, leave you down another pathway. The zigzag, ad hoc, bounce around structure, how modern science works. There's no linearity in that. It's all over the place. set out to develop a blood pressure medicine, and all of a sudden you got the hottest male erectile dysfunction pill on the market. You set out to deal with diabetes, and now who Hollywood style Ozempic got ladies slimming down. Serendipity. We were going one way, and the science pushed us in the other way, and here we are. Okay. That okay comes from just being able to follow where the information goes, not argue with the evidence. Only thing that swims upstream is a salmon when it's going to die. Evidence takes me here, I go there. This is what the research is showing. I'll just go wherever it goes. So within our modern framework, there's no linearity. Nothing about reality has ever been linear. We think linear. Even evolution we see as linear. Because we look at the peaks of progress. That's like our Sosa said. We remember the hits and we forget the misses, right? That's why a gambler gonna only tell you about how much money he won. He gonna forget all the money he lost in the meantime. Shout out to the Brain Show. Shout out to my psychological and philosophical development in that arena. My good brothers Chill, Ken, and Sosa. We want the Brain Show. We want the Brain Show. If I feel it, it's valid now. Barbershop boys in a building. Personal experience can be misleading, stupids. I know you want to sit over there and run your philosophy and how you feel. Because how you're feeling in your soul is how you perceive reality to be. Because perception is an illusion. Because I know there's an interface. We only see but a limited part of the spectrum of light. So it is my experience that is going to form my understanding. And therefore, this is my knowledge. Stop it. Stop. You better stop it. Stop it. I say stop it. You going in the courtyard with your courtroom with your personal experience. We know what that is. Empiricism, bro. We require controlled, repeatable, objective evidence. Care what you say, what you philosopher, where's the evidence? Hey, Hume watching these people cross the pond. It's nonsense. You making it up, bro. You know you got you know that you're making that up, right? If I can't experience it, if I can't measure it and logically deduce it by means of arithmetic geometry, burn that book. Burn it, burn that book. I gotta learn to do the quiz one. Burn it, burn that book. Not subjective perception, like I was saying. And this is the barbershop arena. This is natural philosophy. Aristotle, by means of its status, Thales, by means of its wealth status. Even Kant, by his proper breeding, he was of moral high ground and therefore had the authority to produce the realm and the format of thinking, reasoning, and otherwise for those of lesser stock, of lesser moral value, of lesser moral pedigree. It is my birthright. It's part of the aristocracy to maintain law and order by moral dictate to the lesser of men amongst us. Everybody in the country that look just like him, bro. Same color. Think about that. So why this matters? Empiricism is what separates science from pseudoscience. Newton, observation. If light bends in this eclipse, you're going to see it come around the corner. Versus Freud, whatever I say goes. Just making it up. No system there, nothing there. Just making stuff up. Evidence from belief. I know Roy believes what he's saying. Because maybe he been in an environment that he philosophized his way to that understanding and he believes it sincerely. But he ain't got no evidence to support that position. So that's his belief, which he's entitled to. I believe I can fly. You ain't see me up here arguing with nobody trying to convince them. Well, the fact that your feet are planted on the ground and it's because you don't have the mental understanding or the capacity to, insightfulness to understand that you can actually fly. If you watch old movies, you'll see that there were movies back in the 80s which were explicitly examining human ability to fly just from sitting on your porch. Blah, 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. That's all you're doing at that point. I ain't hearing nothing you're saying. Knowledge from speculation. Now you see the word knowledge here, and I know y'all gonna come back and say, "Yeah, you don't have knowledge because you don't have certainty." Probability. 99.9999999%. Either way, that's a degree of knowledge that you can build a reliable model on, a reproducible model on, predictable outcomes on. You don't have to have certainty to have knowledge. You measure your degree of confidence in the proposition by the level of probability you can assign to it. Play back the video. Listen to that again. To have knowledge, you don't have certainty. You apply confidence in the proposition based on the level of probability. Either way. Let that sink in. Resonate for just a little bit. Without empiricism, Miss Cleo, Colin, I can give you a horoscope, darling. What sign you born under? You're a Gemini. Today your sign, your number is 777. Put up your hand on the phone. Let me see. In 2 weeks' time, darling, you're going to manifest the man of your dream. For Capricorn is in the cycle of love. He is crossing over into Venus. And when Capricorn cross over into Venus, the explosion that is happening, that Leo is in Pisces. Call Miss Leo. Shout out to Doc Tuesday. Anecdotes become data, right? This is what you were attempting to do on the previous show. Your anecdotal claims you presented as data. When challenged to produce that data, you admittedly said you would have no ability to do so. Therefore, you have reduced yourself to anecdotes. And that would be acceptable in an environment where empiricism is not the grounding measure. Fortunately, within this arena, empiricism is the rule of the day. Without data, your claims are reduced to anecdote. Belief becomes true. Y'all see? Yeah. I'm going to leave that sentence right there for a second. Belief becomes true. what y'all believe is true. You hear it in the way you speak. Well, my grandmama said she's a Blackfoot, blue-nosed, Cherokee, redhead, Choctaw, Quackataw, blue-faced Indian. She come from the Turtle Mound, who was underneath Turtle Island before Turtle Island became Turtle Island. My great-great-grandmama. Now, if you 38, your great-grandma was born in the 20th century, bro. You making claims your great-grandmama go back to the 1800s because her mama was a Bluefoot Sioux Indian. And God, you believe that automatically is true. Scientific literacy is here. We ain't talking about science. We ain't talking about doing one experiment. We ain't talking about doing one measurement, one observation. This is just simply reasoning, how you think. And that collapses the entire structure of scientific inquiry. But what happens when people try to entertain us without these foundations in place? Their whole epistemic regime collapses under the weight of empiricism. This is a simple reason why science is undefeated. I am giving you the formula. I'm giving you the tools. These are the only tools you're going to apply ever, 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 ever to challenge a pseudo killer. And once you apply these tools, you won't be challenging the pseudo killers. Science is undefeated. David Hume famously argued that we have no rational justification for induction, none whatsoever. And he was right. The idea that the future will resemble the past. We assume so. True justified belief based on what? Pattern recognition. Not based on causal agent. Not on our ability to identify causal agent. Based on our ability to identify patterns. In other words, science works, but philosophically, it rests on assumptions we can't ultimately prove. That tension still debated today. Empiricism is not just a method. It is a commitment. I've been showing you throughout this presentation. I've shown you areas where the commitment to this is part of your being. A commitment to follow the evidence wherever it leads. Even when it challenges our assumptions. The ability to maintain your sanity and not regress in the realm of cognitive dissonance is to humility in with which you stand in wherever position you are. The rigidity, the unfalsifiability, the unwavering commitment dogmatic to a position will force cognitive dissonance when your assumptions are challenged. Even when it overturns what we thought we knew. When you're engaging in methodological naturalism, empiricism, you welcome new information. You welcome the fact that you're not speaking like you did before. You appreciate the growth you've made. Oh, I used to think that. Oh, that's wrong. Oh, one less wrong thing. Looking back and saying, yeah, I used to say that. Gee, ooh, I'm grown. We take pride in that. It's nothing that you're going to hold against someone that is scientifically literate. In the moment you attempt to do that, you only illustrate your ignorance yet again. over and over. The more one speaks, the more one compromises only but themselves. That was it for today. I had fun. I hope y'all had fun. Dun, 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 dun. Ba-ba-dum-bum-ba-dum-ba-ba-dum. I hope y'all had fun. Dun, 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 dun. All right, I'm gonna drop the link. This was motivated by our discussion in the back chat today with Ron. And when I get in my bag, that comedic aspect of me comes out. Can't help it. I can't help it. Uh, oh man. I dropped the link. Anybody wants to hit the chat, hit the link. Come up here, have a conversation about it. Oh man, I had fun doing it. I'm in my wheelhouse, man. This is the stuff I love, right? And I can make the connection to in real time to what's going on. I appreciate everybody being here. Don't forget to smash the like button, thumb up the show, turn up the show, thumb up the show. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum. Let me play a little bit of music. I've been talking all night long. I like to play a little bit of music, break up the energy a little bit. Just wait for somebody to jump up here and join us. All right, hey, we can do this, right? It's never a bad moment to shout out that good brother.
What's your ideology? Seems to be the question. Around here lately, every discussion rooted in blackology, fueled by the lack of integrity. Case in point, the so-called tragedy, misleading the people, high-level foolery, smash, come of us, king's monologue. It must be a conspiracy. Nostalgia got them stuck in the past, always reliving history. Ask Dr. Ben and Clark, say their names, here's our spark. All one big fantasy, smoke and mirrors, only confusion, no clarity. The nigga pro, no crazy. Van Serma and Rashid. Now they teaching God energy, but that's another story. Reggie out here seeking glory. For him it's about his legacy. Highest little movement ended prematurely. Reggie was denied his opportunity. He signed at the feet so surely. It was meant to be his destiny to the king of blackology. That's your ideology. Seems to be the question round here lately. Confirmation bias, poor research quality, cherry picking data. That's a tragedy. Call yourself a scholar.
Good afternoon, my brother. How are you doing? What's good?
Yes, Cedric, bless. All respect.
Bless up, all things. What's good? What's good? You got the floor.
I just wanted to hold a little reasoning if you're still. Since you're on astronomy, astronomy is my thing.
All right.
So, yeah, I was just saying the constellations you were speaking about, right?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying the constellation you were speaking of.
I wasn't speaking necessarily of any constellation specifically. What are you referring to? Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. No, I see you were making like I wouldn't say a mockery, but you was just kicking off on the whole the horrible scope, the horoscope.
Yeah. You
Right.
you
So
make mockery of those things. That's entertainment. It's fun. There is no substantiation.
right.
There's no there. There's no empiricism there, my brother. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, I was just saying apart from the horoscope and astrology, I was just saying the constellations is still what that constitute our, what that's where our months and these things came from, according to the knowledge. The history
How those constellations form, and are they universal?
in the sense of like, yeah, well, all cultures, yeah, I would say yes. They might not be the same in different cultures, but according to the joins, because people seeing different things up there. So
Good.
what somebody might see as although some of them like some of them are just, I mean, universal. You could see like the Pisces and these things you could see all across the board.
Are they
Everybody agrees
universal?
Pisces is like 2 feet.
Are they universal? Are they endemic to each culture around the world? Because if you're living in the southern hemisphere, you don't see the same body of stars, for example.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I understand that. The
So
seasons are
within the
different
realm,
in the southern hemisphere too.
so within the realm of empiricism, how we understand and engage with reality from a scientifically literate perspective, that falls outside of the realm of empiricism. That is revelation, arbitrary assertion. There's no real there. You understand
Yeah.
that?
Yes, Cedric, yeah. Yeah. But would you admit they're based, your months are based on that still though? Yeah. It doesn't have
Based
to
on
do with
what?
all that readings of horoscopes and all that,
So our months are based on what?
On the 12 constellations. I mean,
Which
where
one of them? Which one of them?
the ones in the ecliptic belt where the sun and the moon and the planets pass through all the time.
And how is that established?
Well, through, like you say, constant, people reading the heavens, looking up and, keeping data and,
So
after
there's no
years and years.
empiricism there though.
What's that?
There's no empiricism there though, right?
Well, I wouldn't use the word empiricism, but
Yeah,
I would
that's
say
the only word we're using today. The word today is
yes.
empiricism. So
All right.
if there's no empiricism there, how does that qualify within the realm of us understanding reality?
That's why our time and everything. That's everything. Our time, everything is based on that. So
No, my time is based
even. But
Look here.
how I'm telling you,
Time is based here. What? Right there you get the time. Right there you get the time. Right there.
what's that?
You press the phone, you press your phone, it's gonna give you the time right there.
Yeah, that's our local time, like you see on Earth. But we have sidereal time.
You have
You know
what?
that? Sidereal time.
What's that? What is that?
Time according to how the stars, the movements of the stars, because the same constellations we're talking about. Sidereal time. And we have
again, slow down. Who determines which one of the stars we use it to do whatever with?
when you say who determines, like, I mean, astronomers are the ones dealing with, astronomers.
You have to stick within the realm of the conversation. You're talking about these constellations. These constellations are arbitrary assertions. They have no actual empirical system to them. This is just people look up in the sky and based on pattern recognition, they forming these groups of stars. That is not a universal concept.
It is a universal concept, man, Cedric, man. Come on, man.
I'm going to ask you a question again. I'm going to ask you one question. In the southern hemisphere, can you even see the same stars in the sky?
No, you don't see the same stars.
So stop right there. That eliminates the possibility of the constellations being a universal concept. Right there. That's out of the question. It's out.
It doesn't.
It is out of the conversation. There is no universal.
Where you're seeing the same stars, but not at the same time, because you're in a different position. That's just
you
all it
are
is.
in a different hemisphere. The stars you see are completely different year round. The basis, that right there, eliminates any constellation from being a universal principle.
What? Right? That sounds crazy.
Yeah, I kind of cut off, you know.
Right?
I don't know if that's right, Cedric.
You wait your turn, Sunchild. Don't do that.
Yes, sir.
Don't do it. Chill. You there, my brother? You fall out. Now, Sunchild, you can have your reign.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that. I have my own issue to deal with. I need answers. I got my own questions. Hey, Cedric, with regards to empiricism, how does empiricism work at the quantum level? I understand that there are major limits to empiricism, and we know the quantum level is
what is empiricism deals with what?
Observation and falsifiability, I believe, are the two major aspects of.
Let's start with observable phenomena, what we can see. Okay.
Yeah.
Define that.
Well, we can see could be defined in different ways. One way is with the naked eye. Another is with telescopes and so on. So there could be different definitions of what we can see.
The CERN Hadron Collider, for example, is one of those tools that we see with, right? And when we're talking about all right, okay, Mara, 2 seconds, let me finish this sentence with Sunchild. I'll get back to you. So based on that right there, right? For example, the Hadron Collider, right? And that type of experimentation, observation, and data collection, you understand that we're still dealing with a high level of empiricism when we're operating on the quantum world, right?
Yeah, but I understand that there are limits as well. Even with the idea of observation, you have a limit of the superposition of atoms and so on. So there are issues with
superposition. What does superposition mean? Superposition means, let me explain you superposition with a real life atomic level, not subatomic. I'm going to explain to you superpositions with a human being.
And we haven't even gotten to the subatomic level yet. We're only on the atomic level. Okay, go ahead, bro.
I'm explaining you superpositions because you interjected that.
In the atomic level.
The 24th of January 2006, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, when I decide I'm going to go to that date and ask where Sunchild was, Sunchild could have been anywhere in the world. Anywhere and nowhere. You were in a superposition.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Stop.
I'm not sure that's what the superposition talks about.
Sunchild, don't cut me off. Don't do that. I'm going to explain to you what superposition is, because you interject these terms and you don't understand them. So let's go through the exercise. I'm measuring where Sunchild was at a random date. I have no data.
That's not superposition.
Sunchild is by definition in a superposition.
No,
He's
that's not.
everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
That's not superposition at the
He's
quantum
everywhere
level.
and nowhere at the same time. I
That's
do not
not what
know. Sunchild,
superposition at
if
the.
you cut me
Can we
off
look
one
at the
more time,
definition
the
of
conversation
superposition
is
on the
over.
quantum level?
Okay, that's it. Bye. Done. I'm not interested. I have to deal with Ron in the back chat there, so my patience for the stupidity is not so high today. If you want to have the conversation, we can have it, but I don't need antagonism. I did a good show, so almost at the 2-hour mark. I can end it now without the headache. So I'm gonna leave you one more chance. You're gonna let me explain what I'm explaining. You're not gonna cut me off because you're gonna have the opportunity to speak. You interjected superposition in the conversation, which illustrates you do not know what that means. That is a philosophical position about the positions of particles. It says until you measure it, it can be anywhere and nowhere. Schrodinger's cat is the explanation of superposition. The cat is either alive or dead, and because I don't know, it's both dead and alive, and it's neither dead and alive. I simply don't know. That is a superposition. Once you open that box, you measure, the cat will be either alive or dead. Human being, for example, you can be anywhere at a given quadrant. I don't know until I measure and collapse the wave function, right? At December 6th at 12 o'clock. At 2 p.m., Sunchild was at this specific location. That's the wave functions collapse. The moment I ask the question with all the variables still in play, you are both everywhere and nowhere at the same time. This, again, is philosophical concepts. You're trying to reason this from this irrational position, and I'm explaining you what it means. So I'm going to add you back to the floor. Now you can talk. You can talk, Sanjay.
Yeah, I'm understanding superposition differently by definition than what you just explained, Cedric. Perhaps it's important to bring it up. Superposition in the quantum level. I thought it had something to do with quantum particles being in different places at the same time. Not that they are everywhere and nowhere.
No,
Maybe that's
quantum
somewhere. But
entanglement.
I'm
You're talking about quantum entanglement, not superposition.
okay.
You see, you're
Okay,
talking
then.
about stuff that you really do not master. So now that
Well,
quantum
which
entanglement, they are
one is
entangled. The
related to
particles,
Which one is related to observation?
we know and understand both phenomena, right? And each one of
Yeah.
them is a matter of an observation. We observe these
Okay.
interactions. These interactions
Okay.
are measured. Both the spin.
And how are they argued? How are they argued
involved.
that they limit our observation, our power of observation? How is the argument that they limit the power of observation? Superposition or quantum entanglement. What's the argument that observation is limited? And falsifiability is also limited there. So empiricism itself becomes limited. So what's the argument for that or against it?
Sanjay, you're making an assertion that nobody made. You are attempting to
Nobody makes that assertion.
Stop. You are attempting to assert that on a quantum level we don't have empiricism. By the mere arguments you're making, the moment you talk about the quantum level, you're indicating empiricism, and they are there. These are actually measured, quantified by means of Higgs, these type of tools. So that nullifies your position right there. The argument.
Well, I didn't argue. I didn't argue that empiricism doesn't exist. I said it is limited. I said it is limited, not that empiricism doesn't exist. But I was talking about the limit.
You got the floor. My brother Blackmail, you got the floor. Come off here, my brother. Go ahead. You're on mute, my brother. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, on me just now. Said. Yeah, the internet's giving a little problem here. Yeah, but I was just saying a while ago, the people in the southern hemisphere doesn't see the constellations. I was just saying they see the constellations, but at different times from us. Just the same way the seasons are different from our time. Like for instance,
So
the season they're in now, they're in the opposite side of they're in the fall equinox, whilst we're in the spring equinox.
so you mean that the planet rotates on its axis, the poles shift? Because our planet rotates
It
on its
spins on its
axis.
axis.
Okay, so
It
that means
spins.
the
It
northern
spins on its
hemisphere,
axis.
and the southern hemisphere, the stars that are produced in their night sky are distinct, they're different. So there's never a
Yeah, for
time,
sure. But
there's never a time that the stars from the northern hemisphere are absorbed in the southern hemisphere. Never.
no, I'm not saying that. But you can't. If you have to think like that, you have to think like the planet's going upside down. I'm not saying
Okay,
that.
so
I'm just saying they're seeing
walk
constellations
with
too.
me. Walk with me. So
Yeah.
if they don't see the same set of stars, they have a different night sky. The constellations that people develop, there is no universality to it. There is no uniformity to it.
So
It is based on what you observe and what is important within your culture that you are going to identify specific patterns in the sky.
yes.
There is no empiricism there. There is no actual objective measurement thing there. These constellations are
I
arbitrary.
understand that. Yeah, but I'm just saying. So the person in South America would be seeing the same constellations as the person in South Africa. That's just what it is, because all of them
They
are in
are
the
in the
southern
same
hemisphere.
hemisphere. They are in the same
Exactly.
hemisphere. But for something to be
So I
universal,
understand that,
it
said we're
needs
not
to be
arguing.
applicable. It needs to be applicable everywhere. For the concept of a constellation to be universal, the same one you see in the north needs to be the same one you see in the south, and there needs to be no arbitrary nature to it. It needs to be representing something in nature in and of itself. And these things simply don't.
Yeah, yeah.
They
So
don't.
there's a northern sky and a southern sky. So the southern sky has its own constellations, which is what the people in the southern
Do they
hemisphere
have
is seeing. That's what you're
constellation?
saying.
What is
Yeah,
a
but
constellation?
it's hmm? It's
What
a
is a
compilation of
constellation?
stars that make up a form of maybe a pictorial drawing where there's
What's
an
that?
animal.
What's that? What's that?
Hmm?
What's that? So when I look outside, is there something that's going to say this is a constellation, or it's some stars that people connect together and say this is what they think
Yeah,
it
but
is?
what I was saying that was universal, said I feel like you don't really understand me, Most
No,
people in the northern
I
hemisphere,
understand
the
you.
12 constellations
You
that
do
we're going
not
by,
understand what I'm
that's
trying
why I
to
was saying
explain.
that's universal. So that you wouldn't say that
No,
that's
there's no
universal. It wouldn't
universality.
be universal as
I don't know what you mean.
listen to
If
what
I
I'm
go
saying.
outside, I have no idea what you're talking about a constellation. It
Yeah,
makes
because most
no
people don't
sense to
study
me.
the stars. No, most people don't. That
Who
is the same
no,
thing.
my brother, your constellation concept has nothing to do with astronomy. That is astrology.
No, said no.
Bro,
I wouldn't
it
agree with
is
that. I
astrology.
wouldn't agree with
These
that.
things are arbitrary. Leo, Taurus, Venus,
So,
these
and
things are not
astronomy,
real.
and astronomy, the study of the stars and the constellation stars,
No
the cluster of stars.
constellations like that, bro. No constellation of Venus and Virgo. These things are not applicable within the astronomy realm. These are astrology. Are random assertions about connecting dots in the sky that don't exist.
Listen to what I'm saying, said. In astronomy, right? What is called the ecliptic belt, that's not astrology, I'm speaking. The ecliptic belt is the 12 constellations that the sun passes through every month. Am I wrong?
Bro, a constellation is an arbitrary assertion.
I understand that, said.
So,
So
so, so,
anybody
so,
could
so
come up.
stop. If you
We understand.
understand that,
Yes, I understand that.
you
I'm telling you
understand that.
about the
No, no,
movements
no,
of
no.
the
I don't,
sun. I'm not speaking of constellations.
my brother. Arbitrary assertions are irrelevant in a conversation about empiricism. What is the subject today?
Empiricism.
What is it subject
Empiricism.
today? Okay, what
Empiricism.
the hell do I give a shit about an
But
arbitrary, about a constellation?
empiricism has to do with observation still said. And that's a level of observation. Ain't it? Am I wrong?
You know,
and here I'm saying, said, I'm not even talking
bro,
about the
you
constellations.
know what arbitrary is? You know what arbitrary is?
The movement
You know
of
what
the
arbitrary
sun.
is? Do you understand the word arbitrary?
What's arbitrary? Tell me.
Oh, so you don't know what arbitrary is? You look up in the sky, you're going to see a cow. I look up in the sky, I'm going to see a sheep. The forms that we identify are arbitrary. Arbitrary.
But I told you I understand that, and I wasn't speaking
Okay,
about
good.
it.
So what the hell does your arbitrary assertion have to do in this conversation?
Because I'm telling you, I'm not speaking.
What does your arbitrary assertion have to do in a conversation about empiricism?
Because I'm not speaking about the constellations. That's not
good.
telling you.
I am asking you, what does your arbitrary assertion have to do with empiricism? I don't give a damn about your arbitrary assertions about a constellation. They have no bearing in a conversation about empiricism. Those connections are arbitrary. Venus is an arbitrary assertion. Virgo, Gemini, all of that is nonsense.
So these things don't exist?
No.
That's just according to our imagination. That's relative.
Yes, your imagination. Exactly. So what does it have to do in a conversation about empiricism?
I thought astronomy was science.
No, astronomy is science, not astrology.
Yeah, but I'm not dealing with astrology.
You are dealing with astrology. You are talking about constellations. This is astrology. Arbitrary assertion about the night sky connecting dots that don't exist. That's a constellation, nothing else. What's the Big Dipper? What's the Big Dipper?
Well, according to some people, they would say the Big Bear or whatever.
It's a constellation, right? It's a constellation, right?
Yes.
The Small Dipper is a constellation, right?
Yes.
Gemini is a constellation, right?
Yeah. But
you know what those stop. And you know what how they are formed? Those lines, those connection dots are arbitrary. They have no significance.
But you
so again, if you understand that, then answer my question. One simple question. What does those arbitrary assertions have to do when we're having a conversation about empiricism?
Because empiricism has to do with the observations and experiments and all these things.
What are we observing?
And what I'm telling you about,
do we observe constellations or do we observe stars in the sky?
Both.
You do not observe a constellation, bro. Those lines, those connected dots, those lines don't exist. They are within your imagination. So they don't exist. That is not empiricism.
Don't exist, or
the stars exist, the constellations don't. The stars exist, the constellations don't.
But the sun do exist though. And I'm just telling you, Cedric, I'm not speaking of the movements of the sun, not the constellations, but I was using the constellations because they are what we are using for our months. Your 12 months came from these 12 constellations. That's what I'm telling you, because that's the movements of the sun. That's astronomy. I'm not talking about the constellations. You're stuck on the constellations, and because I understand you're not.
Newton developed the planetary laws of motion. We don't deal with no goddamn constellation, bro. We mathematically calculate that shit now. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, but what I could do, Cedric, listen to what I'm saying. So if I
no.
If I stop using the word constellations and I tell you these clusters of stars, these clusters of stars.
Yes, Juju, help Juju.
Yeah.
Help Juju.
Peace to the panel.
Yeah, peace.
Yeah, I like to speak uninterrupted. I won't take long. So there is some confusion. The confusion is you're confusing astrology with astronomy. The difference is the sun is not a constellation. The sun is a celestial body. Okay, constellations are a human construct. particularly early cultural constructs. I mean, we can do it for fun now, but they don't have any scientific validation. You know, it was a way for cultures to emit their mythology within the skies, right? Because it was such the unknown, you know. That don't have anything to do with astronomy, right? Astronomy deals strictly with the celestial bodies. What is a celestial body? Anything that's in this vast phenomenon we call space, right? A supernova, a neutron star, the billions of galaxies that are available to us. Our sun, which is a star, and our solar system is part of a star system. Those are celestial bodies. They aren't directly related to constellations unless humans apply that construct to them, right? So, and they hold no value at all. They hold no astronomical value. We can't use constellations to give us any type of scientific data on any of those celestial bodies whatsoever, right? The only thing we use those constellations for is fun. Maybe we used the drinking gourd when we were trying to find that North Star to go north to get out of slavery, okay? But that has nothing to do with astronomy, absolutely nothing. And I think though, you know, I could say probably sailors and different things, they probably utilize those things for tracking, but it depends on where you live, right? It's we have these type of meridians and they change in the summertime. You know, you can see one constellation in the wintertime, and I'm in what I'm still considering the northern hemisphere, but I'm in Florida. You know, in the summer skies it's one thing, in the winter skies it's something totally different. You feel me? When it comes to constellations, right? So yeah, they don't have any bearing in astronomy. Strictly
Yeah.
astrological. That's
But can
strictly
I say
a
something, Juju?
cultural. No, I'm not done. Strictly a cultural construct, a religious construct, astrology construct. Has nothing to do with science, empirical data, any of that. Nothing to do with it. We don't have astronauts going up in space, you know, naming constellations. We don't have that. They're not doing that, okay? They're not doing that. And plus, a lot of them are named in Arabic. You will have to explain that, you know? We got some Greek ones. So you know the time frame when these constellations are being named. So it's weird. And even for some of the same star systems, you have different constellations. See, it depends on the culture. So yeah, don't confuse it. You're confusing it. And I gotta stop you.
Yeah, yeah, Juju. What I wanted to say, Juju, I never really said the sun is a constellation. The sun is a star according to astronomy. And then, like you said, the constellations, I just use the word constellation. I don't want to use the word constellation. I could be using the word stars because they're just stars up there. So, and what I was saying is in astronomy, it's easy to type up everything I'm saying. You could just type it up. The chat could type it up because we may be arguing, but the chat could type it up. In
So
astronomy, there's something they call.
that's wrong. The star is
There's,
not a
listen
part
to what
of
I'm
a
saying. I listen to you. It's my
constellation.
turn to speak.
Yeah, but you're wrong. Stars weren't born a part of the
A constellation
constellation.
is a cluster of stars which gives
No, that's
a
not a
pictorial drawing according
constellation.
to how the
I'll
viewer.
look up the definition and tell you what it's that. But a constellation is not a
Yeah,
cluster
but
of
what I was saying,
stars.
Juju,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
I
pull
don't
up the
want to stick on the
concept of definition.
constellations.
Yeah,
Would you admit the
there's
stars we're
another.
speaking of?
You got to hold on, brethren. There's another. Me and Anthony did this, but there's another word, astricism, I think it is. But look it up, Cedric. There's a difference between.
Yeah, but can I
Yeah,
finish
one
what
is
I
a
was
group.
saying, please? I
One is a
allow you
group
all
of
to speak.
stars, and one is like, you know, when we project a certain image or picture among by connecting the stars. Okay,
Yeah,
go
all
ahead.
right, Juju. I was saying there's something they call the ecliptic belt, right? The ecliptic belt is like a path that these planets, the sun, right? And it passes through, that's the path of this, the sun and the planets. and they don't move from that path. They constantly follow that path, and that path is where these 12 constellations that I'm speaking of, and I don't want to use constellation, I could say the 12 clusters of stars, that makes some impression, whether it's a drawing or whatever you see it as. And that's how the ancients and even modern day astronomy came up with what we have as calendars and time and all these things. So that's just what I'm saying. That's astronomy. That's not astrology. Astrology is you dealing with horoscopes and these things and readings and these things. I never said none of that.
They came up with time.
Yeah, yes, time and everything is for astronomy. Because we have sidereal time, we have lunar time, and we have solar time. That's what we're going by right now.
Oh boy.
What?
Am I lying? Am I lying? You're not too familiar with astronomy, I could tell you all. You're not too familiar with astronomy, because what y'all are doing me there is like, I'm using facts and y'all are going against the facts. That's what y'all are doing. And Ced would admit that even when you watch...
What facts are you using? Can you tell me the fact?
There's no universality to these things. You had northern hemisphere, you have southern
you're talking
hemisphere.
About the constellations.
Arbitrary grouping of stars. Look here. 88 quick list. Watch. Arbitrary grouping of stars? Yes. Look. They're picking out stars. All these stars, any one of these stars could have been highlighted. What? The great or dark?
The eclectic bill is part of astrology. Again,
right.
The what?
It says, I'm going to read it. You got to stop playing with us. The eclectic bill is the imaginary flattened plane containing Earth's orbit around the sun, representing the sun's apparent yearly path across the sky. The bill acts as a celestial reference for the zodiac, with the sun, moon, and planets appearing to travel along this plane through specific constellations.
So what is the mixed, what is the I don't even know the word that I'm looking for, but why is it that astrology and astronomy has to be mixed? Why can't they be separated?
They are separated.
So why can't you separate them?
Because what happens, Sebio, is most people think the constellations. Anytime you mention constellations, that you're dealing with only astrology.
Don't tell me about constellations.
What's that?
Don't tell me about constellations. Somebody got some background there.
Mute up.
You gotta mute, Anonymous.
You gotta mute up, please.
So what I'm trying to figure out is, if you know that astrology and astronomy are separate, why do you keep trying to bring them into one? Don't tell me about constellation. Just tell me why you're trying to make them one field.
I'm not making them one field. I'm Sebio. That's what it is. What I'm saying is what it is.
Hold up. No. If astronomy isn't astrology, you can't say they are the same thing, bro. That
I'm not
word
saying they said the same thing. You still miss.
No. You said they're the same. I'm asking you simply, Black Mill, why can't you separate and leave astrology and astronomy separate?
I never said they're the same. I tell you that what I'm telling you is astronomy, right? Is the study of the stars and the planets, your universe, right? The galaxies and the solar system and all these things.
Tell me that. Right? I need you to tell me, why can't you leave them separate? Why can't leave the astrology with the astrological symbols and the zodiacs and all that shit that they're supposed to represent? And stop trying to make it astronomy.
Because it's easier. It's easier to understand the movements of this. It's easier to understand the movements of the sun Using the constellations, that's not astrology. That's all I'm telling you. Because that's the path of the planets and the sun, which is the same astronomy. It's the study of astronomy. So these constellations I'm telling you about are the constellations that are in the paths of the planets and the sun, brother.
So I'm gonna make a correction. They do use the ecliptic.
No, not elliptic. It's ecliptic. Ecliptic, not elliptic. There's two differences.
I'm figuring it out. Just don't interrupt me. They are using the ecliptic belt in astronomy, but it is also used in astrology.
Exactly.
But I would like to think that you're probably using it in an logical, not an astro.
No, I want to talk about the sun.
I'm not done. I'm going to read the definition of constellations and asterisms. Asterisms is a grouping of stars, like I told you before, okay? I have this nice article from Sky Magazine. I'm going to share it if I can. Constellations is when these grouping of stars have a recognizable pattern, right? A recognizable pattern that are then named, right? So
Ursa Minor, Ursa Major, Canis, Lupus Minor, all those.
So like the Big Dipper is actually a asterism, but the constellation is a Ursa Major, right?
Ursa Major, yep.
Yeah,
Ursa Major.
I think people confuse that, right? 3 stars of the summer triangle asterism are in each different constellations, the Vega and the Lyra and the Altar or Aquila and Deneb and Cygnus, okay? So asterisms you'll find in constellation, all right? So yeah, they're a grouping of stars, but the constellation is definitely the one that's named. This is a great article. I'm not going to read through it, but I'll definitely put it in the chat for you all. Now, you know, I think it's important to understand that before we had scientific tools the way we do, constellations, you know, were definitely beneficial. But when you have tools like these super, Anthony in here, you should hit the panel, Anthony. When you have tools like these super telescopes and these space observatories where they're in space on Earth, like those asterism, those constellations are obsolete, right? When you have tools to navigate the oceans, we have amazing tools to navigate the oceans. We don't need to stargaze to do that anymore. You get what I'm saying? So though they may have been beneficial, but we can't deny a lot of that stuff was still used in the occult and things like that. And that's just facts. I mean, but astrology and astronomy are there's a clear line through it. Yeah, clear line of demarcation. They're entirely not the same. And to confuse them is to have us stepping backwards, into the Stone Ages, literally. And we don't want to do that. And I think that's very disingenuous, especially to our children. I think it's fun to take kids out and look at different constellations. I think it's a great way to have fun with it, to help them use their imagination, and then lead them into the science that'll be way more beneficial to them in the future, and that's astronomy, right? But helping them understand that line of demarcation. You get what I'm saying? So that's important. Yeah, that's why we just can't let what you're saying fly the way you're saying it. But I definitely understand. I'm a constellation. I watch constellations, right? Beautiful. But we also have some great pictures in our Space Age African Astrology Club of some beautiful celestial bodies, including including nebulas, planetary nebulas, and things like that. You know, I don't know if a constellation could be. You feel me? Looking at these beautiful nebulas, star forming area regions in this vast thing we call the galaxy. So
Juju, check this out.
We aren't just observing the sky anymore. We're putting our stamp on it. For the family. For the future. This is pseudokilling. Yo, step into the theater where the optics are clinical. Reaching for the stars, yeah, we hitting the pinnacle. Newton laid the floor, but we're building the frame. Mapping out the heavens, giving clusters a name. Look up at Orion, see the dust and the glow. That's Bobby's nebula, let the whole world know. Methodological, yeah, we keep the mind sharp. Playing cosmic strings like a gravitational harp. We're the space age applicants, eyes on the scope, trading pseudoscience for the logic and the hope. Pseudokillers in the building, clinical with the flow. If it ain't measurable, then it's gotta go. Check the globular cluster, dense stars in a mob. In the PK catalog, we call it Mac-5. See the hard nebula, that's Juju with the light. Star forming regions, burning holes through the night. We're reclaiming the sky, one coordinate at a time. Applying the method, yeah, the reason and the rhyme. From a silver cyber down to the crab supernova. The era of the scammers and the myths, yeah, it's over. We're space age applicants, eyes on the scope, trading pseudoscience for the logic and the hope. Pseudokillers in the building, pinnacle with the flow. If it ain't measurable, then it's gotta go. It's more than a telescope. It's a legacy. The galaxy and beyond, Anthony, Bobby, Mac, and the whole family.
Shout out to Anthony and Juju, the Galaxy and Beyond show.
we got Anthony on the panel. I think you should let him have the floor.
Man.
Sure.
I just
Oh,
wanted to.
sorry, Prince.
Yo, is that somebody else talking before I start?
I wanted to say something real quick.
Okay, go ahead. My fault. Go ahead.
Said, I think we've been doing these people a disservice. I put a philosopher, a Greek philosopher, Empedocles, in your Facebook Messenger chat when we were talking about when we first started this conversation on science in antiquity, if the ancients had science. So Empedocles, it starts out, God are the elements. God are the elements. And then it says Empedocles is most well known for his theory that all matter consists of 4 elements. He called them roots and named them for the Greek gods Zeus, Hera, Adonais, and Nestor. They personified or godified the physical forms known as fire, earth, air, and water. Although experts do not agree about which god stood for which element. These elements, Empedocles declared, persist throughout recurring cycles of creation and destruction. That is, the various forms of matter and life and the structures of the everyday world are just mixtures of the elements in varying proportions. Empedocles declared that sensible objects come into being as the elements are melted together or pulled apart by 2 opposing forces, love and strife, sometimes translated as hate or conflict. Love impelled the combination of elements into a unified whole. Strife was the destructive agitator that ripped the elements asunder. Pluralism, the 4 elements. Here first the 4 roots of all things, shining Zeus, fire, and life-bringing Hera, air, and Adonais, earth, and Nestor's water, who with her tears moistens mortal springs. So I want y'all to understand that ain't no way those ancients had science, show. No way. Y'all need.
Thanks, Xavier. Anthony, you got the floor. Clear this up.
Hey, peace, everybody. Hope everybody doing good. Yeah, from the little bit I heard, the brother's not, as far as what he's speaking about, because I think he and I had this conversation before. Okay, when he speaks of the ecliptic is like the like you say, it's the path that the planets take across the sky, or appear to, take across the sky as they orbit the sun. That's where the 12 constellations around that make up the ecliptic is what in astrology gives you your birthday, I guess you could say. None of that has it's used in astronomy, but it doesn't have the story attached to it like in astrology. In astrology, they tell you, well, Mars is in Aquarius this month, so you're gonna be feeling this way, and it's gonna make you do this and all that. No, that astronomy is not concerned with all that. It's more or less a position of the sun in the sky, and when the sun makes it back to that position, you have a year. You know what I'm saying? So it takes a year for the sun to make it back to that particular constellation. But that's all it is in astronomy. It's not, it doesn't have the story attached to it, which would make it astrology. That was about all. Oh, and Juju, you're right, that the asterism is a group of stars that form a pattern that are part of a larger group of stars that makes the constellation. Like the Pleiades are what we call in our catalog, Dr. Mod, it's an asterism of the constellation of Taurus. The Big Dipper is a part or an asterism of the greater constellation Ursa Major. So asterisms are a group of stars that make up a part of a constellation. Is there anything else I missed? Because like I said, I just tuned in. I don't know what else was said, but that was what I heard. But that's, as far as the storytelling goes, that goes with the stars, that's not astronomy. That's what astronomy had to break away from during the scientific revolution. Because astronomy, before then, astronomy and astrology was one. It was one thing. And astrology was, it had a major head start on astronomy. Major head start. Astronomy now today is more than just observing. You have to understand what you're observing. Back then, no, they didn't understand that. And the understanding didn't start to happen until the scientific revolution. So they were one up until that point. I don't know if is there anything, what else was said? I'm not sure.
If anything else comes up, feel free to just interject, take the floor. Let me give the God Killer the floor for a minute. God Killer, you got the floor.
Oh, I use up all my energy in the server. I'm just joining
Yeah,
in
I
and
know.
supporting. Yeah, I'm
I
wow.
know. I know. I'm glad for the reinforcement too, because he saw the patient just wasn't there today. Not
But
after all
it
you
ended up good though. It ended up good. It
I'm
actually
sure it
did.
did. I'm
7 hours
sure
though, but it ended
it
up
did.
good.
That was too much. Preem.
Cream,
Hey, Cedric, I
Cream,
got
you
a
got
Yeah.
question when we
the
get
Let
time. I
Preem
got a
go.
question for you.
Let
Okay.
Preem
Cream,
I
you got the
keep
floor, my
well,
brother. Yeah.
okay, I got it. Yo, man. Well, y'all kind of know my perspective in this thing is to me, it's largely a semantic argument. But even to take it a little deeper, one thing I realized, being a pseudo is easy. You don't gotta study the constellations and I'm sorry, you don't gotta actually study astronomy. You can just know some constellations and be able to rattle them off, and now you're an astronomist. It's like, it's just wild to me how we how we cling to this old, ancient, outdated knowledge as if it's really something like no, now I'm going the other way. I'm minimizing, and I can't do that because those were great people. But we fall in love and we romanticize this shit to the point where we thinking it's the same thing, and it's not. It's just not. All right. So you know the constellations, and you can navigate using the stars. Okay, but what? All right, what what is the composition of that star? What elements make up that star? Is it a hydrogen? Is it a gas giant? Is it even a star? Because sometimes it's a planet. Because a lot of times, a lot of the ancients they were planets. They thought stars and planets were the same thing. Some of them. But what is it made of? What's the composition of it? See now when you get into science, you get into breaking down the audio visual spectrum. You get to know, okay, certain frequencies, we can see this. This frequency is infrared. This frequency is ultraviolet. When certain colors are reflected back in stars, that means that's giving you insight into the elemental structure of the star, of the planet. So because different elements have different properties and they reflect light differently. So by analyzing the audio visual spectrum, you can figure out what a star or a planet is mainly made of. That's how we can tell that Mars is a solid rocky planet, but Jupiter is a gas giant. That's how we can figure that stuff out. It's deep. It's more than just observing. Observing is the foundation, yes. But just because you're observing does not mean you are doing science. It just doesn't work like that. Science has more depth to it than just, okay, damn, I saw that. Okay, and the next time I see that, it's a year later. Okay, damn, so it must be a year. Like it's more to science than that. Science is concerned with getting to the things that's not obvious. Like Ced was talking about earlier, the sunrise and the sunset. Yeah, when you observing, it looks like the sun rises and the sun sets. But you need science to understand that it's the earth spinning while it's going around the sun, while the sun is going around a black hole. Like it takes science to figure that out. You're not going to figure that out by observation because our eyes are limited. It's only so much our physical senses can see. Observation, even in the court of law, eyewitness testimony is the weakest form of testimony. Why is that? Because honestly, when you're talking about the animal kingdom, we don't see that well. And then you add on to that the emotions of a situation, and now our mind is playing tricks on us, thinking we saw shit that we didn't see. And science is the same exact way. You can't just observe your way to learning the secrets of the universe. And so I don't get long-winded. I'm gonna stop it there, but I got more stuff to say. But I'll come back and I'll let other people get their thing off.
That was an
Is it my turn again, yeah?
excellent quote.
No.
Sunchild, you got the floor for a
Whoa,
second.
let me make one point. I just want to say.
Okay. God Killer, go ahead. You got the floor.
I just want to add on to what Preem was saying. So it's 4 planets, 4 terrestrial, and 4 gas. I'm gonna end with that. Think about that for a minute. They wouldn't have known that.
Sunchild, you got the floor.
And it's really that simple.
Yeah, well, I'll ask another question since we're not addressing the question of the limits of empiricism in the quantum level. We're not really addressing that. So I'll ask a different question. With this idea that science has to have these strict limits with the scientific method and modern science and so on, if you can disavow me of this thought, Cedric, I'm inclined to think that I think based on the arguments that you all are making is that you're making atheism a prerequisite for science. It's as if you have any type of belief in God, regardless of your science, it disqualifies you from science. Is that what we are saying here? Is atheism a prerequisite for science?
No, you
That's
said that.
stupid. That's
Straw
dumb.
man, straw man,
Straw
straw
man.
man, straw
All
man,
right. Well, if
straw
the answer
man.
is no, if the answer is
I'm gonna
no,
start calling out these fallacies as soon as they
well,
happen. But go ahead.
if
Nobody
the
brung
answer
up
is no, well,
your
if the
Make
answer is no, if the
make
answer
Nobody
is
said
no,
that.
it begs the question. If your answer is no to that
Get him,
question, it begs
Juju.
the
nobody
question:
brung
Juju.
up atheism
where does
but
spiritual belief?
you.
Huh?
Nobody brung up atheism but you.
Because I don't know how
Nobody
long they're gonna be in
wears
there.
atheism on their backs, right?
I feel
Nobody
like
in there
opening the gate and
leads
let
with
us out and do all that shit.
atheism ever. Why would you do that? Stop it.
Then that begs the question: where's the limit to science and
You're
spirituality?
begging the
How are you
question.
allowed to be
We're not
spiritual in any
begging
way?
the
As a scientist, are you allowed to be religious or
Ladies and
scientific in
gentlemen,
any way?
ladies and gentlemen, you see,
Nobody's making
you
that
see,
argument.
Yeah, that's
ladies and
hard.
gentlemen, you see the moment that he is trying to cross the Kantian wall,
What is that
right?
noise, yo? What
You
is that noise?
see the visceral reaction from everyone on the panel because we clearly identify that Kantian wall that he's trying to climb over. In the presentation, it was clearly illustrated one of the
Come on,
misconceptions
man.
is that science has something to do with your personal belief. Why science is functional and methodological naturalism is the standard? Because it is universally applicable.
Huh?
Your belief system plays no role in
You
how
say
you
what?
apply science. It allows you to maintain your cultural identity, your cultural container, personally, and still engage in science. We have evidence of this over and over and over. What methodological naturalism says: to do science, you can make no assertions of nothing that you do not have any empirical evidence for. Empiricism is the grounding foundation. So any
So
assertion
in that
that
case,
you cannot
is
any
methodology?
assertions that you cannot substantiate cannot be included in the
Yeah, I
analysis,
get it.
diagnosis, or the outcome.
Hey, Cedric, you know what it is? I realized that we're wrong, right? Most people, when they hear you say that, right, since they don't understand the history of Newton and all the niggas who was clearly spooked out, they think you're saying that you have to be an atheist. We're not saying that at all. The Catholic Church and all that shit, Charles Darwin, nigga, bleed like that's wild. We not saying that.
Okay. So
You're
where does
saying
the
what? Hold
science?
on, hold
Where
on,
is
hold on,
spirituality? How
Sunchild,
is spirituality
hold
Sunchild,
on for a minute.
acceptable?
Hold on.
maintain the
Where in the
decorum.
science?
Hold
Sunchild,
on for a minute,
maintain
bro.
the
You gotta hold
decorum.
on,
Once
yo.
he's finished, you can get the floor. Don't do this.
Yeah, he's not saying you have to be an atheist. He's saying your data can't be skewed by whatever you believe in, yo. You can believe in a flying spaghetti monster, nigga, but that can't be in the data. That's all he's saying. That's it.
Right,
That's it,
but
bro.
we've presented examples of people who separate their science from their spirituality or religion, and somehow it seems to me that you guys still reject it, as if we
Didn't
cannot
I just
separate their
confirm?
science from their
Didn't I just
spirituality.
confirm?
What?
Didn't I just confirm that very fact? That we have evidence of people that are religiously inclined still operating within the scientific methodology. Didn't I say that the scientific methodology allows you to maintain your cultural identity because it has no interjection or has no role to play in that aspect?
Okay, good. So you can be spiritual, like there have been examples of ancient
Your
Africans
personal
doing
belief
a
system,
scientific
your
method
personal belief
and
system,
There is
separated from
not
their.
one. There is not one example of an ancient doing the modern scientific method. There is not one example.
All right, let
I've presented
Sunshine make
examples. I've
Sunshine.
presented
No,
examples
you, no,
of
you
mass
haven't.
production and
No,
mass
you
production and
haven't.
metallurgy.
No, you haven't.
I presented an article that made that argument that the ancient Africans did separate their science from their spirituality in the article science, not black magic, and they separated the two.
You said
Nah,
you
you
said
made that
something.
up.
You
Somehow
just said
it
something
seems to
different
be
Scam.
because
Scam.
before
Scam.
no, you just
Scam.
said you gave examples of the ancients using the scientific method. I
Scam.
challenge you. Go right now. Go show. Give me an example of the ancients employing the modern scientific method back then. Go ahead. Go.
Go
well.
ahead. You got
Well,
the floor, Sunshine.
I presented the
No,
article
no,
No,
science
Sunshine.
don't go
not
Now,
present
fiction.
it. Do it
now.
now. Do it now.
Okay,
Do it
well,
now.
brother, I have someone on the panel bring up the article "Science, Not Black Magic" from the African journal,
We read
Black
it. It's not
journal.
saying what you're saying. We read it.
Yes,
It's
it
not saying
is.
that.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. If
That,
you
No,
read
it
the article,
doesn't.
it
ladies
is
and
saying
gentlemen,
that
doesn't
they
say
went
that.
that
That
they did
article
separate their
completely
science from their
redefined
spirituality.
science.
So you
No,
all are talking out
that
of both sides of your mouth
that
right now.
that article completely redefined science and said it
So,
wasn't modern science. That's the
No,
context
it
of that
didn't. No,
article.
it didn't.
Yes, it.
No,
Oh,
it
so
didn't. You
Sunshine,
pull
didn't
it
say
up.
that.
Pull it
I'm a
up. I
respond.
remember. I remember
I'm
the
a
article
respond.
you talking about. I
The
remember the
article.
exact article you talking about, and in that article, it defines science, and it used what the common thing now is a broader definition. Yeah, if
Yes.
you're using a broader definition, it's not modern science.
The
You can't
article
use
was
a you
called.
can't use a modern you can't use a broader definition and claim it's modern science. You got to pick one.
No, and it
Yes.
So
makes the
now,
So
same
the
argument
show
as
article.
the
me,
argument made
give me
for
an
The
Newton, which is
example
article.
that he
where the
separated his
ancients
science
did the
from his
modern scientific
spirituality.
method. My bad, said for
Sunshine,
stepping on you.
stop the cutting off, Sunshine. That's not cool. We got the article, Sunshine. We went through it. The article is focusing on technology and how they systematically apply themselves to reproduce the same level of technology. They were talking about glass and metal, Sunshine. My
Yeah,
memory
and
is
the article
astute.
says you
Man,
cannot
no, no,
separate
Sunshine,
technology from.
Sunshine, don't do that. I didn't ask you to speak. Don't do it. We're gonna maintain order. Everybody's gonna get the flow, but you're not gonna mess up my program. You're not gonna do it. I'm gonna put you back up here. If I take you down again, that's it. All right, Sunshine. We know that article was talking about technology, and it's clearly stated in the beginning, as Preem indicated, the fifth form of science in its broadest sense. We went through that article. We corrected
The fifth form of science.
your position. We corrected your position, and now you bring
Did
it
you?
back. That's it. Then you bring it back with the same wrong conclusion. So it's either your inability to actually understand, process the information, or at this point you just trolling. Because we don't need to go back to the article. The article in the heading is clearly talking about glass and metal. That's technology, right? And they use science in the broadest application of the word. And you know this. So why would you insist on being fallacious in that aspect? Black Milk, my brother, you have the floor.
Because he's scamming.
Yeah, he's scamming.
Scamming?
Yeah, he's scamming.
Can I speak to Brother Anthony? Anthony,
Yes, sir.
You got the floor. You got the floor.
I was saying a while ago and confirm certain things. So what I was saying about the movements of the planets and the sun to the ecliptic, right? That's an astronomical event. That's not no astrology, right?
Yeah, you
Anthony,
speaking
Brother
of the
Anthony is there?
ecliptic? Yeah.
Yeah, Anthony gonna respond to
Yeah.
you.
And even what we call the procession of the equinoxes is also astronomical, not astrology. Because I know the difference between the astronomical and the astrological societies. They don't agree on a lot of things. Because like now I could tell you, the astronomical society agreed on Ophiuchus being a 14th constellation, where the astrological society doesn't accept it because they're dealing with their readings, and that's how I know the readings are off. You know, it's not like just making a mockery of them. I could go and show you exactly how they're kind of years behind in their readings, right? The next thing I wanted to say, according to astronomy, stars are what we call mostly the two elements, which is hydrogen and helium, right?
Yes.
Which is what the sun is, because the sun is considered a star right now, right? And it also has a lifespan, just like all stars, according to astronomy. Am I right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so what I was saying, even what I was saying coming to our time, sidereal time, lunar time, and solar time, that's how we came up with all these calendars and all these things. And our months.
Did he fall off?
Am I right? Are you following me?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I was saying earlier. That's how you get the 12 months of the calendar, is whenever the sun is in whichever constellation it is. That's what month it is, when the sun rises in a certain constellation. And it's those 12 constellations that form the ecliptic.
Right. And even what is called the precession of the equinox is the anti-clockwise movement of the sun. Well, you could say the planets too, if you understand it properly.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
And that's also astronomy.
All right. Where you going? Where you trying to go with this?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say most of these things, that's where all these stories come from. For me, like my understanding,
well, the stories are astrology.
Language was that. The universal language was that. Yes. I'm not talking about the astrological stories. I'm talking about even just the whole biblical stories and the Quran and all these things. I'm telling you, it's the same stories.
Yeah, all of that is
even the Kemetic stories, the Mayan stories. Yes.
But see, now today we know the mechanism behind it. Back then, the mechanism was mythology. You know, Mars was the god of war. Right. You know what I'm saying? So when people saw Mars at a certain part of the sky, or whatever the case may be, they felt like the gods was telling them that a war was upon them or something. You know, that's what astronomy had to break away from. You know what I'm saying? It's the stories or the cultural stories that they won't match up universally. You know what I'm saying? If the African American has a story for the planet Mars being here, and then the Chinese have a story, they won't match. They won't mesh together. So that was the problem. Astronomy had to break away from that, and astronomy became universal, whereas astrology is pseudoscience today, because we know that planets in a certain position have no bearing on your personal life, but it's very prominent because astrology had a 3 to 4, maybe 5,000 year head start over astronomy. And I feel like personally, right now today we're still in that transition mentally, because we can't get past the astrology. I mean, you mentioned it earlier today, and we were talking. When you go in the grocery store, the convenience store, whatever, you can still buy horoscope books and birth charts and all that kind of stuff. So it still has a hold on society. But like I said, astronomy itself as a science didn't come across until the scientific revolution. So that's been a few hundred years versus a few thousand years for astrology. It's the stories, like I said, are what was the mechanism of what made these planets move across the sky in this pattern, in this ecliptic. You know, that was what had to be thrown out. Now we know the sun is going to rise. So astronomy can keep that, where it appears to rise to us. But astronomy can also explain to you that
Which son? The son of God?
it's not rising, it's Earth moving around the sun while it's spinning on its axis. That makes
It's
it
apparent
appear to
movements,
rise,
which is relative truth.
So that's why astronomy had to break away from the storytelling part, because the storytelling part is not going to match up universally. But not knocking the storytelling, because I mean, for whatever reason, people used it, and we're here. But as far as astronomy and astrology, astronomy didn't emerge until the scientific revolution. Astrology, like I said, it had a great head start on astronomy. So we're still working through it mentally as society, and I don't know if we'll ever get it.
No.
I don't know.
Hey, Anthony, you're right. We're not gonna never work through it. Right now, everybody is on his phone. When they go to their house, their grandma's house, their aunt and uncle, they all think that their birthday, I'm saying, got something to do with the constellations and all that. Venus, your horoscope signs. They all believe in your family, yo. All of them. Matter of fact, we all believed that until we got into it. That's an easy one to believe. I'm a Pisces, right?
Yeah.
So what does that mean? We all thought that, bro. Right now, everybody believe that. So I'm gonna end it right there. Great point, Anthony.
Hey, that's a fact, though, fam. That's a fact. I mean, it's strong too, dog.
Yep.
Today.
Yep.
It's strong,
Miss
bro.
Cleo, we have a culture like every morning on most radio programs, morning programs, your horoscope is still a part of these programs.
Yeah,
right?
good point, bro.
That's a matter of fact. All right, American Dream, you got the floor.
Hey, P. Cedric, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm driving home, so if I get choppy, just let me know. But I was doing some research. Thunder had called in once and was talking about some modern proto sciences, and that kind of had me doing some research to studying about the differences between proto sciences. Is that my background? Whose background is that so noisy? Is that me?
No, that's me. Let me move it out.
Okay. So I was doing the research, just comparing modern proto sciences with the ancient proto sciences, and I was just trying to figure out why the modern ones were science and the ancient proto science wouldn't be considered science. But ChatGPT said something that I wanted to share with you and just get your insight on. It's pretty short, so if you don't mind, I'll just read it real quick.
Go ahead.
It gave pushback. It said it would be wrong to say ancient people were not doing science. For example, Babylonian astronomers made accurate predictions, Egyptian medicine used empirical treatments, and African metallurgists mastered complex processes. And I think that's what Sunchild was just talking about. And it ended by saying, in those moments, they were doing science, even without the modern label. I was just wondering if you could speak to that a little bit, Ced.
Your chat GPT is doing what it's supposed to do. It's having a conversation with you, and it's using science in the broadest sense of the word. Now, if you were to further question your chat GPT on the same subject, you would realize that it would put it into actual proper context once you are being a little more academic and a little more accurate, right? They were doing science. What they mean there, they were being systematic, they were being empirical. However, when we talk about science, we are talking about about an epistemic regime, about a particular framework in which evidence and which information is gathered from the world. So you need to do a little bit more further questioning. Your chat GPT it's not incorrect, but it's giving you a surface level answer. because, of course, that was a surface level question. That's
He
number
reading it
one.
wrong. He reading it wrong. He just need to get the source
Yeah.
that ChatGPT used.
Number two, when you talk about proto-science, and you're going to find a definition that explains emerging fields within
Gaslight,
neuroscience.
neon lights, gaslight, neon lights. I'm sorry, go ahead. Was it on mute? I'm sorry. I thought I was on mute. I'm sorry.
Did Cedric start
So,
talking or?
so when you look at the term proto-science, when you look at it in its modern context, it's under the framework of methodological naturalism, right? It's a systematic approach to establishing fields within science itself, right? So there you got proto science when you look at things like neuroscience and the development of those fields. When we're using proto science in the ancient context, it means before. The steps, the things we see in civilizations before the advent of this thing called science. So, under natural philosophy, you're going to see a lot of scientific steps being done, right? Systematic experiments, for example, what
I, I think he muted. I think he muted.
yeah. So, for example, who's doing that?
That's not me. That's him
That's
being
sunshine.
funny. That's Sunchild
Oh,
doing it
oh
on
shit.
purpose.
Oh
I'm sorry.
wow.
I'm sorry,
Oh
Malcolm. That
wow.
is sunshine. So in its ancient context, it means before, right? In its modern context, because what we are looking at these words and how they fit within each epistemic regime. So when you're under the epistemic regime of natural philosophy and you're looking at certain actions, they are going to label them proto science. For example, the work done by the House of Wisdom during the Islamic Golden Age. Those are proto-scientific steps because they are under a particular philosophical framework. The conversation isn't really that hard.
And you know what else?
JJ,
You know what else said? You know what else
That was a
said?
long answer, I
just
tell
a
you that.
second.
Hey,
Go ahead.
said.
That's a
You
long
you know
answer.
you know what an easy ass answer to that is? Modern science, if it's proto science, they were using the scientific method. As an example, I can go to since Sunchild was on the quantum thing, quantum mechanics, things so looking into the multiverse, studying black holes, things of that nature will fall under the proto science category because we don't really understand those things, but we're at the beginning stages. The difference between now and then is to get to our proto stages, we're using the scientific method. Take it back. Yo, the one thing that stood out to me about your presentations last week was Descartes. Even though he came up with graphing, he was trying to figure out God.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the difference. It's the methodology and the reasoning and the hypothesis behind it. If you're trying to figure out God, you weren't doing modern science, even though modern scientists can use one of your inventions to take it further. And simple, quick, easy explanation.
Hey, you know what?
Exactly.
Said, you know what?
Exactly.
You know,
This is getting
said,
worse
you know
by
what
the
I think we
day.
do?
Oh,
You
my
know what I
fault. I got
think
my
we,
mic muted. Let me know when
you
I
know
can
what I
go.
think, you know what
Savior,
I think we
you're gonna go right after Savior. JJ. Appreciate you waiting. Go ahead, Savior.
Hey,
yeah, I
said
think
thanks for entertaining my question. That said, peace out.
All right, thank you. Go ahead,
yeah,
Savior.
because I was gonna ask him American Dream and Sunchild one
Whoa.
question.
Hold on. Why don't
How,
you ask why don't they look up the source that ChatGPT brought up to support that? That's
that's
key.
what I that's what I was gonna ask him. But the other question was, how many continents did these scientists in the ancient world think it were? Think it was? How many continents did these scientists, the Greek scientists, the African scientists, the Egyptian scientists, how many continents did they think it was?
That's an excellent question. JJ, you can answer that question.
Whoa, I just want to speak to
Nah,
American Dream. American Dream, read the
I'm not
read the
dealing with
source.
him, man. I already beat him up last night and crashed out.
Hold on. One quick, real quick. Oh, y'all can't hear me. Listen, hey, American Dream. I know you hung up.
He left.
I know, but he listening. When you get home, check the sources that the ChatGPT use and read your sources. It's a language model, bro. It's not saying what you think it's saying. Read the source that it's pulling from. Then you'll find your answer.
JJ, you got the flow, buddy.
All right, so man, I don't know what the hell's going on here, man. I didn't walk to a whole bunch of pseudoness. I mean, these people here really hate the black man. They hate the ancestors, ladies and gentlemen. But they love the goddamn David Coons and Richard Wrights and all these other fellas that wear these white wigs, puffed up shirts, looking like Prince. I don't understand it. You guys are putting it. Black History might not even hear you. That's usually what Garfield do. But let me tell you something, man. Y'all, I'm not about to sit around and let y'all tear down the ancestors, the Renuku Rashidis, Clyde Winners. Them is our heroes. You see what I'm saying? Not no goddamn Charles Darwin. You don't have to believe in a God to deal with science, and this is what they presented to the people. Oh, well, them ancients only believed in God and deal with science. That's a lie. As I told y'all, they deal with material science, they deal with formal science, and they have nothing to do with a God. And actually, when they're building these great wonders, they didn't attest it to God. They built it to do their things of worship, ladies and gentlemen. They didn't say that God's built it for them. So that's a lame excuse for just being a goddamn atheist. Now let's get back to the real facts. ChatGPT, American Dream, don't let them flim-flam you. If the ChatGPT tell you something, they give you sources, they need sources to refute it. We're not going to get up here and tell us that our people didn't have science and give these goddamn white wigs all the goddamn credit when we know the Greeks learned from the goddamn Africans. We know the Greeks learned from the Mesopotamians and the rest of the Sumerians and the rest of the people. No, hold up. So if I hear y'all saying this one more time, somebody's going to see me in the room to say that any African didn't deal with science because you got a modern in front of African.
This nigga's dumb. I'm sorry. Y'all cool with him. I'm not cool with him. That's a dumbass nigga. I'm sorry. That's a dumbass nigga. He's fucking stupid.
Now you want to
Dude is remedial. Dude is remedial. Dude is remedial. Dude is remedial.
Show your goddamn
Straight
face.
up.
And you do cops. Hey, man, this nigga the cops. He won't show his face. This police ass nigga. Yeah, but I'm out of here, man. But hey, you're a little flunky. I dare you, Amen.
He's a moron. I'm from North Philly. Pull up.
That's enough.
I'm from North Philly, nigga. Pull up. I'm from North Philly, nigga. Pull up. 10th and Oxford. 10th and Oxford. 10th and Oxford, North Philadelphia, nigga. Pull up. You threatened me one too many times, you pussy. Fuck out of here. Suck my dick, nigga. Straight up.
Let me not digress. Don't wanna get lost in that mess. Even the skin now. Reggie tried to contest that affected him.
Yo, crazy, yo.
Emotionally,
Yo, you took too long, yo.
Grant, you got the flow, Grant. It's about that time. It's we are hitting that 3-hour mark, and yes, everybody's.
You got to put Preem back. Put Preem back. Put Preem back.
Yeah, he's back. He's back.
I don't see him.
Yeah, he's back.
Wait,
let me take Grant off the big screen.
He's not back.
Oh, there he is. There you go.
Hey, Preem, you want?
You went Xavier on his ass.
Crash out.
You don't get to threaten me. So you only get too many. You don't get too many times to threaten me, bro. I'm from the streets too.
You can't crash.
So I don't know who that JJ dude think he is, but like I said, Like I
listen.
said,
No,
I'm
you
from
gotta
North
listen.
Philly,
You gotta
baby.
listen.
Come
You
see
gotta
me.
listen.
Come
You
see
gotta
me.
listen.
All right,
Hey
all right,
Pring,
all
hey
right,
Pring,
King, all
hey
right,
Pring,
King.
hey
Grant, you
Pring,
got the floor. Grant, you got the
Pring.
floor. Calm us down. Calm us down.
Yeah, I am not from North Philly, but so I won't come see you, but I believe you. Um,
Ladies and gentlemen, let me make a disclaimer. Our patience was readily tested today in the back chat. We did our best to maintain our composure, but we were at point of exhaustion. So, Blackmail, my brother, I apologize for showing not the amount of patience that I usually do. Thanks, Juju and Anthony for saving, but that was just because of a intense afternoon having this discussion. So we were at the tipping point. So I understand where Preem is coming from. Grant, you got the floor, my brother.
Yeah, so I wanted to address the question about the black magics, and I want to just reread the part that I think they keep missing. And this is from the author in the conclusion. The deities and gods are the emissaries of the supreme God and the patrons in charge of the workability of the process.
Fuck you think you talking to?
And this is considered this is the patron of the glass industry and therefore consulted. In essence, the article was talking about that they were still doing this in service of their gods, period, and it doesn't meet the standard. And if you can keep quoting the article, but if you're missing the conclusion that the author came to, not what you're coming to, therein lies the problem. And I think we need to continue to make sure we reiterate the facts, because I think there's quite a bit of individuals who like to make up things when they show up and then yell and scream and throw out whitey this and whitey that. Unfortunately, we have all the information available to us, and we all are capable of reading. And so please, you should try reading. That way you don't have to embarrass yourselves every time you come up on these panels.
I think they like embarrassing themselves, Grant, because they show that they can only read what they want to read. It's called selective reading.
Yeah, I think it's meant to sort of throw a grenade into the conversations.
Yeah,
It's when you're just getting hit with questions. What do you know about quantum mechanics? You can't do the evidence of that. I mean, hold on, let's talk about atheism. Oh wait, hold on, let's talk about balloons in the sky. Oh wait, let's talk about purple. And then they just go off into this spinning in this world of nonsense. If you don't understand quantum mechanics, you should go learn it first before you show up. And if you think that you somehow have figured out and undermine all of quantum mechanics in the chat of a YouTube channel, you've lost your mind. You're unqualified in every way, because no one is shaking in their boots because you're saying, well, there's no evidence. Sure, there's still questions to be answered, but you don't have the answers. And every time you type a word, every time you utter a question, which is never to get to anything, your sole goal is to get to the fact that the Africans were the first scientists. Just say that. It's okay. Just say you lack a qualified answer, and a qualified way of getting to your answer is that you want Africans to be the only people that came up with science, and that is where you're going with it. And we're okay with that. But to pull
I wonder why they ran from that question that I asked them. Sunchild, and the other people, JJ 7000, and the other people that think that these ancients had science. How many continents did they think it were? They think it was all the way up until the Enlightenment, and they got the sailing across the ocean. How many continents did these people think it were?
They refuse to answer because they know, and they've been listening, and they know that that's been dealt with. That's a hard fact. That's a hard fact that you left with with a map with 3 continents, came back and threw it at the agent saying, "Man, you guys know nothing."
You guys know nothing.
Yeah, but that's a conversation of cartography, in the sense of that you have to go to the older maps and try and go to how old you would say that
Hold on. What?
like what we have
What?
as a
Hold
world
on.
map.
What? How?
Easy, Samuel.
Cartography,
Easy. Have the conversation.
I know. I'm trying to see
I was
what it
saying
said.
cartography. Yeah, I was saying cartography, right? Which is the join of maps and these things I'm talking about, right? I was just saying how old you would give that, like of like what we have, the model we have right now.
It's old. It goes back to probably the Ptolemies.
Yeah. So the maps used were
So
of
you're
the
saying in the
Ptolemy.
BCs, that's the
Yeah,
BCs.
the Ptolemy era, and they were still the maps in use up until the 1400s because people didn't move beyond the three continents. It is with serendipity, with Columbus trying to find a shortcut. A shortcut is how they ended up understanding that the authority had no more authority. Again, imagine leaving there with a map which have three continents. You come back with a wealth of knowledge from one day to the next. The sailor who had no teeth, could not read or write, had more knowledge and understanding of the world than the whole body of philosophers from Aristotle come straight up. In one instance, the authority saw their power diminishing, disappearing. The sailor could look at these people who thought they were pompous and say, "You are full of it. You know nothing. You are
You know
ignorant."
nothing. I saw these people on this island over here, and y'all thought they were walking upside down. These people on the other side of the world, they walk just like us. They sing, they dance, they have practices that are similar to some of ours. Do
Imagine
you know
coming
how
back.
shocking that was? Y'all don't realize that shocked them. That what? No, these people are walking upside down. You had
You
people
come
trying to refute and prove that people on the other side of the world was actually walking upside down because this is what they were thinking and teaching.
So
But y'all want to say
shout
they
out
have
shout out
science.
to
Y'all need
Kaya.
to quit.
When they came back with cures for ailments that the old world didn't know. And when they came back and the so-called doctor said he's doing this and this and this, and the same sailor laughed at him and said, "I got this herb here. I'm not no, I don't need you." You understand what an epistemic rupture is. You understand that they really did not know anything. And they understood that. They were confronted with their ignorance. The establishment, the authority, was confronted with their ignorance.
I have one last question for you, Uncle. Well, the whole panel still to a certain extent.
Go ahead.
I would ask,
Why you want
since
us?
the
Oh,
planets, what's that?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
what I was asking, said, I don't know if it was you or if it's Anthony or if it was Unc at a program recently, and you always speaking of the like the effects of the moon on the planet, on our planet. And we know this the sun, we know about the sun, but for sure the moon, and with the tides and these things. So I was asking y'all if you all agree with that. Would you all agree that the planets also have some effect on the planet too? It might not be as strong as the moon, because the moon is a little closer to our planet, but would you all agree that the planets also have an effect on the planet, even if we don't believe in these things? I
What's
mean, it's not
in
really
which context? In which context?
like the same context of like the sun and the moon having effect on the planet. And since, like I said a while ago, the orbit of these objects we are watching, right? I'll put it like that. These objects we are watching are the same orbit. They don't move from the ecliptic, what we call the ecliptic belt. They don't move away from that. So I'm saying if
Well,
everything is orbiting in that same orbit, right? If the moon has effect on the planet and the sun has effect on the planet, obviously the planets would have effect. They're just a little further off from this, what I would say, in our solar system, from our planet. So they maybe have less effect on the planet than the moon and the sun.
The
everything.
only
Well,
the
it's,
only
oh, go ahead.
effect is gravitational. That's it. It's gravitational.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. Yes. Straight.
You understand? So that's the effect. It's gravitational because it is held together. Our solar system is held together by forces of gravity and the likes. There are some other forces at play. I wouldn't know exactly how to explain them. How the ecliptical works to pull and push that Anthony has explained that several times. It might take 4 or 5 more times of him explaining it to actually get it, but it is natural forces and primarily gravity at play. So that's what's going on. All right,
Well,
ladies and gentlemen, we've hit the 3 hour and 10 minute mark. I'm gonna give everybody a last closing remark. I'm gonna start with you, my brother Black Mills, because you was here first. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate the question and the dialogue because it helps bring clarity to what we're talking about. Go ahead, you got the floor.
Yeah. Like we say, if you know your Bible and your Quran and all these storytelling books, and you don't know your astronomy, you don't understand geography, you don't understand, just your sciences, it's fairy tales, So, make sure you're doing your sciences and learning your sciences because, it helps clears a lot, even the storytelling. Yeah,
I
bless.
appreciate that, my brother. Appreciate that. Sabio.
Yeah, as I always say, when y'all tell me that people in antiquity who thought there were 3 planets and people walked upside down on the other side of the earth, that they had science, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Y'all need to go reread, re-educate yourselves, and stop trying to educate people on YouTube. Because at this
Facts.
point, you're only hurting the community. You're not helping anyone with these idiotic, childish arguments. Y'all sound like 4th and 5th graders who had y'all candy taken by the teacher who wants it back. And I'm done.
All right, that's some hard facts. Preem, you got the floor, my brother. You good? You good?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm good. That's light work. I would say, man, just don't be a dummy. Don't be a moron. Don't be an imbecile. Don't be a fool. Cause see, my whole thing lately has been semantics and logical fallacies. Don't be an equivocator. When you talk and be clear, define your terms. Then you won't look stupid bringing up things like formal science, logic, mathematics, computer programming. You won't bring that up in the natural science argument. Because when you do stuff like that, you just show that you're stupid and that you're remedial. So you shouldn't do things like that. Define your terms, stick with it, and just stay in the lane that you're in. And then that way we could all communicate clearly. Because if you do stupid stuff like using the broad definition of science in a concentrated discussion where we're using the strict definition of science, you just expose your stupidity. And whoever the cat fit, wear that thing. Because I'm talking to you. Peace.
I appreciate you. Anthony, I appreciate you, bro. Y'all look out for the space show. You see what we're doing. We're gonna be bringing a lot more information to you. Do you see that the community is ready and gearing for these conversations, Anthony? So let the people know when we're gonna be back with another space show.
Hey, tomorrow, man. If you can
Bop, bop.
tomorrow,
Yes, sir.
Say 9 p.m. Central. So I guess it'll be what, 10 Eastern?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you.
And,
I got you.
Shout out to my boy Sirius B. Peace, Brendan. Peace to you, fam. But I just want to say, man, look, when you're scientifically literate, they can't drag you down to their level and beat you up with experience. Appreciate
Facts.
you.
Appreciate you, Anthony. Appreciate you, Anthony. Grant, you got the floor, my brother.
Yeah. Black male, I think you seem to be a genuine individual, and I respect your desire to indulge and be a part of sort of religious thought. And I think in my time in this community, everyone here appears to be completely nuanced, of different faiths, different beliefs. And I think everyone's exchanging those ideas and what does it mean to be someone who's Muslim or Christian or any number of faiths. And I think there is no sense that anyone here, and I would think the vast majority of people who are scientific, spend their time disregarding those things. But I would also recommend that when you have someone like Anthony who is well steeped in a discipline, if you want to learn more, seek him out. I think he is more than willing to engage and go over some of the things that may be beyond sort of your own visual inspection. And I think that's something we can all engage in. And so I'm sure you may have felt picked on, or you may have felt like the odd one out, and to some extent. But we definitely want to embrace someone like you, I think, in seeking answers. But also part of that seeking of answers requires us to, seek out people who at least are demonstrating they are competent in something, so we can at least round out what we think we know, so we can just be better at this. So I just encourage you to do that. But it was a pleasure having you and listening to you during this panel.
Yes, folks, that has been another Ced Talks. I really appreciate everybody coming out. These discussions are not easy, but they are supposed to be had in the community. Today we delved into what empiricism looks like, and you can see the exercise post-lecture. We've established a rubric, and you can see the reaction on the panel once those parameters are breached. Methodological naturalism is a way of thinking, it's scientific thinking. And it doesn't mean you have to become a scientist. It helps you to navigate discussions like this. It helps you to put things in its right perspective. It challenges you to challenge your own way of thinking, right? Tomorrow, day off, I'm going to prepare the next episode. I'll be back in the evening with Anthony producing a show. I love helping out my brothers producing the show. Shout out to Ced Talks. Malcolm had a wonderful show last night. I think I've been seeing some chit chatter in the bushes. I think Juju's gonna hit the button. So y'all stay tuned. Stick around. Thank y'all for your support in this effort. This is where we wanted to see the community growing. We've hit our stride. Thank y'all for your support. Shout out to Brendan, Pseudo Killer Official. This is something we started a long time ago, and here we are. So looking forward to seeing your show and your presentation on Newton. The discussion is ready to be had. I think you should go and look at the Sunday show where I discuss these people that are on this bridge and that transition, right? So thank y'all for tuning in. Stay tuned to the Pseudo Killers. Subscribe. Share this show with a friend. Share this show with your kids, especially the first half. And of course, subscribe to the community of skeptics. And stay tuned for a wide variety of shows, all educational, all to raise the level of discourse in the community. Thanks to all the interlocutors. Sunchild, your presence on the show as an antagonist is a great demonstration, and I know you're playing a particular role when you do what you do. So I really appreciate you being on the show. With that, folks, let me take you out with some music. Let me get you out some music, take you up out of here. Before we go, we're going to have some fun, though, right? Yeah. I'm going to play Juju Jam.
What's your ideology? Seems to be the question round here lately. Every discussion rooted in blackology, fueled by the lack of integrity. Case in point, the so-called tragedy. Only confusion, no clarity. The nigga bro, no cuisine. Van Serma and Rashid. Now they teaching God energy, but that's another story. Reggie out here seeking glory. For him it's about his legacy. Highest little movement ended prematurely. Reggie was denied his opportunity. He signed at the feet so surely. It was meant to be his destiny to the king of blackology. That's your ideology. Seems to be the question round here lately. Confirmation bias, poor research quality, cherry picking data. That's a tragedy. Call yourself a scholar, then it's a travesty. You know it's like keep it trying to make science black. Who's confuses science with technology? Reggie, is this your idea of everything? A flame for blackology, a black city plan. Let me not digress. Don't wanna get lost in that mess. Even the skin now. Reggie tried to contest that affected him emotionally. Reggie came loaded with more pseudo-foolery. Yet another battle he lost horribly. Obviously, Reggie, you're not ready. Ideology got you looking stupid, silly. Squints his eyes. Where he lies, if look is ugly, you will never beat me. I got no emotions, no ideology. That's the difference between you and me. Oh, and don't try that. You got a degree. The name dropping, come work on me. I ain't never been a victim of blackology. What's your ideology? Seems to be a question round here lately.
Yeah. Check the credentials. You like the literacy for this level. Listen, niggas doing their best, trying to best me try. Keep failing the test, got no pedigree. Unsuited killers, top dog versus ticks and fleas. Get them off me. Trendsetters, everybody follow me. I'll make you beg for your life, praying on your knees. Little dudes ain't on my level, too hot, 33 degrees. That's boiling, just so cold with it, watching niggas freeze. Ice, psycho, bleed, flip, flamin', nigga, please stop. Got everybody talking science, but they can barely read. Sound it out, said the ignorance is like a fucking disease. I'm really starting to question the mental capacity. High school dropouts wanna compete with me. Me at the class, get your weight up, it's so long, come to where I'll be. Trying to retrofit the data just to match a prophecy. Nonsense, claiming ancient secrets, but it's really just a week. Hard to learn a lesson when you're dying just to breathe. Please, class dismissed. Top floor view, stay grounded. Ain't hard when you sit at the top. Give you if you're coming for the stars. The missiles ain't got the target on lock. Don't play grounded in my game, steady as the rock. Ain't hard when you sit at the top. Give you if you're coming for the stars. Missiles ain't got the target on lock. Grounded in my game, steady as a rock. Solid.
remember, scientific literacy is the vaccine that protects your brain against the scammers, charlatan, hoodwinkers, flim-flammers in our community. And with that, we out.